finishes loading. What's new and exciting in your life, man? Other than that third stripe you just got on your black belt.
I got a third stripe last Saturday. Yep.
Homie, that's huge.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I wasn't expecting to get it. But yeah, it was nice to get it. So I've been a black belt 10 years now. So
damn, 10 years?
Yeah, and 20 years overall.
Long.
Too, so
you even got yours like a year slower than you needed to get it. That's so long. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely nuts. I was thinking about it. I think you're one of to be safe, I wrote down 10, but I think you're one of 5 people in the state of Wisconsin that can give out black belts.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know that, but that's
cool.
Cool.
It might be as high as 10. Right? Like when I started jiu-jitsu in 2005, what year did you start jiu-jitsu?
2002.
Damn, 2002, right? So your story's even a little crazier than mine is going to be right here. But when I started, there were no black belts in the state of Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
Henry was a brown belt. He got his black belt like 2-3 months after I started, right? I was the 73rd black belt promoted. It took me 12 and a half years.
Yeah.
In 12 and a half years, 73 dudes got their black belts. Yep. And there's still only like 5 to 10 of you that can give out black belts.
Nice.
When did you got your black belt? 10 years ago? So you started 2002. You got your black belt. What would that be? 2012?
2012. Yeah, it was October.
So it took you 10 years?
10 years, yep. Or 10 and a half about, yeah.
10 and a half. That's pretty standard.
Yeah.
How'd you find jiu-jitsu?
So, I wrestled in high school. That was like the thing that got me into like the grappling aspect of stuff. And then like when I graduated, I really wanted to wrestle in college. But there wasn't a team at UWM at the time, and that was a school I ended up going to. I did go to like check out other colleges and stuff for wrestling. It just, I don't know, it just didn't feel like the right school. And then I just ended up going to UWM, and later on they ended up forming like a club wrestling team, but I was already involved in jiu-jitsu, so I wasn't interested anymore. But I was just like the first semester at UWM, it was just like, man, I'm just going to school, going home. I missed like having like a sport. In high school I was involved football, wrestling, baseball, so I was always doing something. And then I was just looking through the sports and rec class. I had no idea what jiu-jitsu was, and I saw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it was going to be held across the street at the church. I was like, oh, it's across the street? Like, I'll just sign up for this. So I didn't know. I thought it was going to be like a taekwondo or a karate thing where we'd be punching and kicking type stuff. And it turned out the first class, Henry was the instructor, but Henry wasn't going to be there. So they changed the first location to by UWM, but just for the first class. And John Freeland was teaching it. And he was like, yeah, Henry's fighting in Japan. And we're like, what do you mean he's fighting in Japan? He's like, oh, like the MMA stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, this is what that stuff is. And I remember seeing UFC 5 way back in high school. And I'm like, oh, this is like that Royce Gracie thing. Okay, so this will be something that I like. And then it just started from there. Like it was a UWM rec class for 1 credit. I took that a couple times, like while I was there. And like, I remember one of my friends, like I had no plans of going to Henry's main gym, but like while you were in UWM, you were able to go the off days. We only trained Tuesdays and Thursdays for sport and rec. And then you could go Monday, Wednesday, Friday to his other location. So one of my friends was like, hey man, you should come with me sometime. So once I started going those other days, I ended up just going every single day. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the other location, Tuesday, Thursday with UWM. And it was just like that from, I don't know, I just never stopped doing it. So
have you ever heard of any other place that has like credited jiu-jitsu courses like UWM?
So UWM has been doing it for a very long time. I think Marquette might now. I'm not too sure if they do, but I know they have a jiu-jitsu program there. But there might be some colleges in other states that do it. I think there might have been one in Iowa, but I can't remember the exact school.
It's crazy how many people come through that Like,
yeah. Every time the UWM class starts, I'm like, man, this is like every I think they have one in the fall and then one in the winter, and it's usually like 2 sessions. And it's like every time the UWM one starts, I'm like, man, this is exactly where I started. And I see all these college kids come in. I'm like, man, that was me way back in the day, and not having a clue of what was going on. It was like coming from wrestling too, like jiu-jitsu, like you putting someone in between your legs. I'm like, the first move I learned, like we were doing, was an armbar from the guard, and I'm like, this makes no sense at all. Like this guy putting someone in between my legs, and I'm trying to like wrap my leg around their head. I'm like, what? But it's just like comfortable with that. And then like once I realized like I can start competing, I think I did my first jiu-jitsu tournament after like 2 months, because I was like, all right, we can do tournaments. So I was like, let's go try to do these. And yeah, that was the thing. Like always trying to compete a lot too, like throughout the whole jiu-jitsu like rankings, like as you moved up, that it was always something that was important.
Did you compete a lot in wrestling too?
Oh yeah. I started wrestling when I was 15. I just want to pay my respects to my coach. He just my high school wrestling coach passed away earlier this month. Coach Choudhury taught me a lot of stuff. Definitely wrestling, but just more than that, instilled a lot of things in me that I still carry with me today. So I just want to pay my respects to him. And I know he's a great man that would be greatly missed. He impacted a lot of people. But yeah, I competed a lot in wrestling. Like we had a ton of wrestling matches like back then. I think they don't have as many now in high school wrestling for some reason, but we would have like 30 plus matches a season. So, but I was bad. My first year, my first season, I was 0-8. And I was like, man, I remember going to this tournament. Like, I lose all these matches again, I'm quitting. And I ended up 3-2 that tournament. I like won my first one. I was like, oh my God, I won a match. And so I won 3-2. And then I felt better. And then I stuck it out that season. And then the next couple years were a lot better. So yeah, wrestling was a big part of my life. So
were you the kind of kid that was getting into fights before that?
No, never. I never got into a fight in school. I got picked on a lot, but like in elementary and stuff. But yeah, I never got into a fight until my first MMA fight. That would be my first time I got punched in the face for real.
Interesting.
Yep.
See, that's not. The more I do this, the less common I find out that is.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a kid who was fighting on the streets either, because I was always in the gym.
Yep.
So I thought that was normal. Like, oh, you train in a gym. Why would you be fighting in the streets?
Right.
And then all these other people were like, dude, I was like, Montel told me he fought 2 little kids at 4 years old. He punched a brother and a sister in the face, fought both of them. They left, went home, got all their cousins, all their siblings, and he tried to fight 12 kids at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
He was 4 years old. Right? That's the first time he remembers being in a fight. So would you say that wrestling was your introduction to combat?
Oh, totally. Yep.
Okay.
Unless you want to count WWF wrestling, like way back when I was little, like that was my first introduction to submissions for sure. Like trying to do the sharpshooter and figure 4 leg locks on people. So
did you ever work on your friends? Like you did them and they were like, oh my God, this is a real thing.
I remember doing that at recess. Like we would do putting kids in sharpshooters and figure 4 leg locks. But yeah. And like now, awesome. Like those were leg locks. Like, man, that's so funny. Like,
yeah, they were like shitty versus
right.
Like, so, do you know that pro wrestling comes from real wrestling?
Yeah.
Right. Like it was catch wrestling, and then they had to like make it. They had to make it like a fixed thing so that they could control the outcome, so they could make superstars and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So like back in Japan, I think even now, pro wrestling is like real.
Oh yeah,
like, I don't know if the punches are that real, but the dudes that are studying it are studying real submission. They're studying catch wrestling and looking to like if you don't go with them, they're going to break your arm. Like that's it. People forget about that. That like we call it pro wrestling because it comes from wrestling and it looks stupid and silly now.
Yeah.
But how many dudes, especially, I mean, I don't know how, but I never got into pro wrestling. When I was like my mom's a bit of a pacifist. So when I was a little kid, I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. By the time I was old enough that I was allowed to watch wrestling, I was already into combat.
Right.
So the idea of like going back and watching these dudes put on some pageantry was like, what the fuck are you people doing? What's wrong with you? Right? But like Kurt Angle, Ken Shamrock. Like, these
Right.
dudes had legit combat sports backgrounds. Brock
Yeah.
Lesnar, like
Yep.
these dudes are champions in their respective sports, and then they came over and became a whole thing. Like
Yep.
it wasn't always just juiced up. I mean, Brock is the juiced up version of that, but like still, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize Brock is the champion again. Like, also I turned on the TV and like SmackDown was on. I thought I was watching it, but I'm like, wait, Brock is in the WWE again, and then he's the champion all of a sudden. I was like, that's weird. I didn't know he was even. I knew he was out of the UFC, but I didn't know he was back into pro wrestling.
He does like he like pits them against each other every time his WWE contract is about to go up. He starts reaching out to the UFC, showing up at UFC events, blah 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 blah. Like, man, I think I'm gonna go fight. And then last minute, who's the dude that's in charge? Whoever's in charge of WWE is like Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon, yeah.
It was $400 billion. Not in the face for real.
Yeah.
And he's like, hell yeah, that's all I wanted in the first place, right?
Yeah.
When was your first MMA fight?
It was in January of 2004. Yeah, it was weird how it happened. I remember I went with Henry and a couple other people from the gym. We went to a freestyle combat challenge. It was a MMA show in Racine way back in the day. Dave Strasser put it on, and back then it was like most of the I remember UFC. It was like 155 was the lowest weight class. So I was, and then at this freestyle combat challenge, they had two guys fighting at 135, and I was like, whoa, they got little guys fighting. Like, this is kind of cool. And it was maybe like a month. I think that was in October. And it was like later that maybe November, December. I remember I was leaving class and I was walking to the union and Henry calls me and he's like, hey, you want to fight next month in Racine at 135? And I was like, yeah, I want to fight. And I'd never fought. I was just like, yeah, I want to fight. I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to wrestle. I'm a blue belt jiu-jitsu. Like, I thought I was tough. I never been punched in my face for real. And I'm just like, yeah. So go. And like me and my one of my good friends, Val, he actually just opened a catch wrestling school in Texas, in San Antonio. Yeah. So he has a nice gym down there. And yeah, they have a good program going down there with catch wrestling. So I don't know too much about it. It's just getting started. So it seems like it's going to be a good thing moving forward. But what were we talking about?
Your first fight.
Oh, my first fight.
He called you and was like, yo, you want to fight?
Yeah. So yeah, I worked with Val with a little bit of boxing because I had no striking. We just straight grappling up until then. So we did about we met for once a week. I think once a week for those 6 weeks leading up. And I just did a few hours of striking with him. And then I went and I fought Eddie Wineland, who I think he's still in the UFC, or he's been in the UFC for a minute. But I remember going to the weigh-in. I was I didn't cut any weight. I was 130 pounds. And in wrestling, we didn't cut a lot of weight. We always were staying on our weight. Our coach made sure we stayed on weight so we wouldn't have to cut. He wasn't into that, people cutting a whole bunch of weight. And I remember seeing Eddie at the weigh-ins, and I felt bigger than him. I was like, oh wow, I feel good. Next day, we get in the ring, and I'm he was huge. I'm like, what the hell? This isn't the same dude. And then man, within the first 10 seconds, it was jab, cross, cracked me right in the face, and I was like, holy shit. And I got super nervous. I'm like, man, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. And he just lit me up pretty good for that first round. Then the second round started, and I don't even remember. I haven't watched that fight in a long time. I don't remember if I was trying to take him down. I don't remember what I was trying to do, but I just remember that it was there was a minute left in the second round, and he just threw a knee. We were both standing, we were by the ropes. He threw a knee straight up, hit me on the chin, and I remember falling, and everything was slow motion. And I was like, oh my God. I was coherent. I knew what was going on, but I couldn't control my body, and everything was slow motion. And then he came up over me, and I remember being like, oh no, he's going to crack me in the face. And I couldn't move my arms. My arms were just there, and I was just looking at him. And as he was bringing that fist down, the referee grabbed him. And I just remember, thank you. Just saying, thank God that the referee stopped it. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. And I was it was pride. You could knee on the ground. You could soccer kick in those rules. So I was in a takedown position, and he ended up kneeing me in the head. I probably got kneed in the head a good like 10 times, like on the ground, like like now they're illegal, but like you could soccer in freestyle combat challenge. It was pride rules basically. You could soccer kick, stomp. So yeah, first MMA fight doing those rules, and it was pro. My first MMA fight was a pro fight because I got paid. I got $200.
Hell yeah!
200 to show, 200 to win. And then I ended up doing like 5 amateur fights because I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. I needed to like practice. So then I did 5 amateur, then like went back to pro. So
how do you go from that moment of I'm coherent, got knocked down, oh shit, there's nothing I can do to prevent the next thing that happens, to yeah, I'll step back in the cage?
It was just like the concept of competing. Like I love the competing aspect of everything. Like wrestling, I always wanted to compete. Like practice was fun because it was getting me ready to compete. Jiu-jitsu, like if there was a tournament coming up or MMA fight coming up, it was something that motivated me to like go in the gym. It was always something to practice, and I was like, all right, I had something to like work for. Now, like being older and like I don't compete as much, just injuries and just like time, I'm only able to train like Tuesday and Thursday and rolling. And like I actually coached yesterday at the Fuji, and everyone was like, hey, do you still compete? And I was like, man, I haven't competed in like 5 years. And they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, man, I only train like twice a week. Like, so what? And I'm like, I don't want to go in there and like get my ass kicked, like training 2 times a week. Like I know people are training like every day, and like I do work out the days I'm not there, like, but it's like, you know, kettlebell, going for a run. That's not the same as jiu-jitsu, like getting those like reps in and like drilling those moves. Like, but now I'm like, man, I should just jump in a tournament, just see what happens.
Yo, the gym, you live like 10 minutes away from the gym now, don't you? It's not like you drive across town. Just drop in for a half hour. And if you can't do that, get some mats in the house, homie. You got a mat up there.
I have mats in the basement. I do, but they're not as thick. They're not as thick. I just have, you know.
You got to start inviting people over.
Yeah, that would be.
Come through, strangle me for half hour. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have the whole like rigmarole to dick around, be there for an hour and a half, blah, 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 blah. I need somebody to come in, strangle me, and get out.
Yeah.
Get your reps in. I would love to hear that you're back on the mat. Like, I mean, obviously you're on the mat, but like back to competing, because you were when I was first around, you were the guy that everybody was whispering about. Like, yo, you got to go pay attention to what Omar is doing. Hey, Omar's stepping on the mat. Go watch this. He's going to triangle this motherfucker. And I was like, what's a triangle? And they're like, that's a triangle. That's a triangle. There's, I talked to you about this before I did it, but I put a scissor sweep to triangle setup in my BJJ Fanatics DVD, right? Yeah. And I called it the Choudhury Triangle. Not because I learned it from you, because the people I learned it from were watching you and studied it obsessively. And they were like, I don't know what else to call it, but Omar does this. So this is the Choudhury Triangle. This is how you do this, right? Like, you're the first person I ever saw invert. I remember I was at I think it was the same fight. I think it was Anthony Pettis' first fight. I think you were on that card. It was around that time, right? And I was sitting in the stand with like bacon or something like that. And you went inverted, and they were like, "Oh, that's about to be a triangle." And I was like, "What do you mean that's about to be a triangle?" And then sure enough, there was a triangle. Like, what? Nobody was doing that shit back when you were doing that.
Yeah. I actually learned the invert random. Like Scott Houston was doing this invert to regard. Like, it was crazy. He kept doing this thing. I remember rolling with him, and I was trying to like pass his guard, and he would like invert and regard me. And then I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he showed me how to do that. He showed me how to regard. So it started as like an invert to regard, and then all of a sudden it just evolved into this invert to regard to triangle, armbar, something. Like I did it like one tournament. It was ridiculous. I don't know what happened. I inverted, and somehow the kid ended up on his back, and I ended up in an armbar. And I'm like, what? And I was like, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. And then another tournament, I inverted, and I don't even know. It just evolved into something. But sometimes, you just start flowing through stuff, and like you just catch stuff with instinct. Like, so I'm like, how do you do it? I don't know, man. I just inverted, and I saw it, and I caught it.
You start connecting pieces that you're comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
Do you still play still do a lot of inverting?
Not as much as I used to. I like that. I don't know. I mean, everything, like, I got to start doing it. I do it to regard definitely. When people are trying to pass, because I always go to that scissors position usually, and as soon as people try to stack and stick that arm through, I'll go for it. But it used to be a thing, like I would pull guard and I would start inverting, like I would start doing it toward the person, like before we were even made contact. So it would kind of like throw them off, and then a lot of times they would like smash into my guard, which is like kind of what I wanted them to do. But then it kind of like, people would like, after doing it for so long, people would be like, no, and they would like back away or make me stand up, especially in MMA. Like if I pulled, they would like stand away, the referee would make me stand up, and I would have to like, go from there and try to reset and do something else.
Did you ever take the time to systemize it, or was it always very instinctive for you?
Yeah, pretty much instinctive. It was always like inverting, and it was always those same things I would be looking for, like regard, triangle, or armbar usually.
Okay, got you. Because there's guys out there that like play it as an actual guard system.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then there's people like seeming like you, 100% like me, who just inverts to dick around and see what's going to happen. And then like, sometimes it works in my favor. Or somebody like you who's like, okay, I'm going to invert, and these are the things that I'm interested in. But then there's those other guys who are like, A plus B equals C, and it equals D if you invert. Like, what? I don't understand. That's crazy. How many MMA fights did you have?
I had 28.
28 fights.
Yep. 5 amateur and then 23 were pro.
That's a lot of fights.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fights.
Yep. I wish I could have had more. That's
you had like a brain injury or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
What happened?
Yep. So I had a fight in Miami in 2010, and my nose was broken in that fight. I remember the doctor looking at me afterward, and he was like looking at my nose, and he was just like wiggling around. He's like, I think you might have a minor fracture. And he was like, when you get back home, I think you should go to the doctor and get looked at. And then like, I got back to Milwaukee and I felt fine. I was like, it's probably nothing. Like, I knew like breaking your nose, they don't really do much, like kind of just like heals on its own basically. So that was in like, when was that fight? June, I think. Yeah, June of 2010. Yes, June 2010. So then I was getting ready for another fight that would have been November, because I had the surgery on Thanksgiving Day, and it was gonna be against Mosquito. Remember Mosquito? Jao Bosco? I was gonna fight him. I think. Yep. I don't know if we were both brown belts or he got his black belt and I was brown, but we were gonna fight at Potawatomi. So I was getting ready for that fight, and I remember being at the gym, and I was at Rufus Sport at the time in the Oak Creek location teaching, and we were doing kickboxing class, and it was like the last round, right? And I got a punch, like just a grazed punch to like the back of my head. It barely like touched me. It was just weird, and this pain shot from like the bottom of my neck all the way through to my forehead, and it was like just weird sensation. I've never felt it. And I like was like, hold on, I need a minute. And then like I like got myself together, and I like looked at the clock. There was like 30 seconds left, so I was like, all right, we'll finish this fucking 30 seconds. So we started sparring again lightly. We lined up, we bowed out, and I'm like, all right, I got a fight next week. So I wanted to roll. I didn't get to roll yet. So I was like, I want to do some rolling rounds before I go home. So I grabbed one of the guys, and we started rolling, and it was like right away, like I got super nauseous. I'm like, dude, what the hell? I was like, I'll be right back. Got up, went to the bathroom, and I was like, am I gonna throw up? And I'm like, I didn't throw up. Came back. We started rolling again, and it was like a matter of seconds. I was like, dude, I can't do this. I got super nauseous. And then like I like went over in the fetal position, and I just started sweating. Like all this fluid, like sweat came out of my body. Like there was a puddle all of a sudden, like, and I was already sweating a little bit, but it was just like all this shit came out. And I'm like, I sat up and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Went back in the bathroom because I thought I was going to throw up. Nothing happened. And came back, and everyone was like, dude, you look white like the wall. And I'm like, what? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think so. I'll be fine. They're like, no, you are not okay. We're taking you to the hospital. And I was like, no, I'm not going to the hospital. Like, I'll be fine. You guys go home. And like these 4 dudes, like I'll never, like thank God they didn't listen to me.
Do you remember who it was?
Yes, it was a guy, David, Doug DeBack,
Okay.
and who was it? Phil, a guy Phil, and then there was one more, a guy named Jamie. They were all those four guys. Yeah, I'll never I owe them, I'll never forget them helping me out. And I remember they specifically said you are not going home, you are not driving, we're taking you to the hospital. And I remember being in my gym clothes, and I'm like, all right, but I'm not going to the hospital in these clothes. And they straight up dressed me. They fucking dressed me, because I was like, I'm not going to the hospital with these sweaty ass clothes. I'm like, and who knows, I probably was just not coherent, whatever. I fucking a brain bleed, I didn't know at the time. So they put me in the truck, I'm just laying in the back seat of this car. They drive me to the hospital. It was Wheaton Franciscan in Oak Creek, and they scan my head, and they're like, hey, you have a very serious brain bleed. And I'm like, what? They're like, and then they start asking questions like, did you have an injury? I'm like, oh shit, I got my nose broken a few months ago. So maybe that's what it was, but they didn't know if it was a concussion I had that wasn't treated properly. Cause you get hit, you don't know if it's a concussion all the time. I don't know. We were stupid back in the day. We didn't know any better. Just training hard, always trying to fight and shit like that. And you just do stupid stuff and not you don't think of the stuff down the road. But yeah, they scanned my head. They sent me to another hospital, and they kept me in the hospital for a couple days. Then they sent me home. They're like, you'll be okay. And I ended up going right back a couple days later. I remember waking up in my bed, and I couldn't get up. I would sit up, and I would think I was gonna throw up. I would get super nauseous, but I didn't really have much in my system to even throw up. So I'm sitting up in my bed, and I couldn't get up. I physically couldn't get out of bed. I remember texting my parents hey, I think I need to go to the hospital. And they're like, all right, we're gonna go. So they got me, put me in the car, took me to the hospital, and they did the same thing again. They scanned my head, and the bleed got worse while I was at home. So I remember this nurse came in, and the way she said it made me so mad. I snapped on her. She was like, well, it looks like you're gonna need brain surgery today. And I was like, I don't know what I said.
How dare she?
And I was like, fuck that shit, this fucking bullshit. And I was going off in front of my parents, and they're like, Joe, calm down. I'm just like, no, this is not happening. They're not. I didn't want to have brain surgery. No, I had a fight. I wanted to fight. There's no way you're cutting my head open. And the doctor came in. Doctor.
Wait, is this still within that week where you think you're gonna play Mosquito on Saturday?
It was was gonna be on a Wednesday night. It was the night before Thanksgiving. I remember that. So this is what day is this? This is I forget, maybe a Monday or something, a couple days before.
You're 2 days before a fight, you got a brain bleed, and you're like, no, fuck off. I'm fighting. I'm still fighting. Shut up. I'm fighting.
I knew I wasn't, but you just say all this shit because you're mad. So I knew I wasn't gonna fight. It was already off. I'm pretty sure it was already called off, but I was mad. But
okay.
So yeah, the doctor came in, Dr. McCullough. He's like, hey, I'm gonna make a deal with you. He's like, we're gonna monitor, we're gonna scan you throughout the night. We're gonna check you we're gonna check you at what time would this be? I forget. It was earlier in the afternoon. We're gonna check you at 6 p.m. We're gonna check you at 9. We're gonna check you at midnight, and check you again early in the morning. So they scanned me. I got a CT scan that many times throughout the day. They kept coming to our room, CT scanned me. They were monitoring the bleed, and they're like, if the bleeding goes down, we are not going to do surgery. But if the bleeding stays where it's at or gets worse, we have to do the surgery. And I said, okay, that's a deal. And they scanned me. They didn't say much throughout the night. They weren't telling me if it was going down or whatnot. They just, put me back in my room. And then early in the morning, they came in. It was the last one. I'm like, all right, this is the last fucking scan they're going to do. Let's go. They took it. And I remember what time would it have been? It was like 6 o'clock or some shit, something like that. Dr. McCullough walks up in my room and I'm sitting in my bed, and like right when he walked in the door, like he looked at me and I knew right away, like I looked at him and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, all right. And like I knew he's like, we'll be back in 45 minutes. And I remember staring at the clock and I watched that hand every minute. Like I didn't take my eyes off the clock. 6:45, I think it was, came around, they came right in, and I was like, oh my God, they're about to like do this. And they yeah, it was a crazy time. Like I remember saying bye to my family and all that, and I remember getting wheeled into the operating room, and I'm like looking around like, dang, everything is so clean. Like what the hell, why is everything so bright and white, like all these shiny like tools everywhere? And I'm like, it reminded me of Saw. For some reason it reminded me of the movie Saw. I don't know why, but I wasn't creeped out or nothing, but I was like, wow, everything is super clean. And then the dude that puts the thing to make you go to sleep, the anesthesiologist, he was such a nice guy. And I remember like, man, this stuff isn't gonna work on me. Like I'm not gonna go to sleep. And I'm like, this works for real. And he puts this thing on my face, and like they make you count back from 10, I think it was.
Yep.
So I start counting backwards, and I'm out, right? And I think the surgery was only like 90 minutes or so. And they like, oh, this is the other thing that freaked me out. Right before the surgery, this nurse comes in and she's like, just so you know, there's a chance we're not going to be able to reattach your skull right away. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't reattach my skull. They're like, sometimes after surgeries like these, your brain will swell. So there's a chance your brain will be coming out of your head. I'm like, so we can't put because they like sawed a piece of my skull out, right? And
Jesus.
so I'm like, well, how long does it take to go down if this happens? She's like, well, it could be days, it could be months. I'm like, what?
Months?
So like,
you'll be walking around with a hole in my head for months.
And like I'm like, why are they telling me this now? Why are they telling me right before the surgery? Like, this is not cool. They should have told me this like yesterday or days before, right? So like, they do the surgery, and I'm getting wheeled out of the operating room. Like the edge of the bed is hitting the doors, right? And I'm not even out. And my body, I shoot up and I start feeling my head. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, is my skull back on my head? And they're like, yes. And like, everything is fine. I'm like, okay, good. I'm like, give me my cell phone. And they're like, why? And this is what I told. I was like, because I need to schedule another fight. I need to get a fight going. Like, that's
you fucking savage.
That's what I said. And afterward, I'm like, all right. They're like, no, you can't have your phone. You're not fighting. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, where are we going right now? Like, we're going back to your room. You're going to see your family. I'm like, okay, when we see my family, I'm going to pretend I don't know who they are. Can you guys go along with this? They're like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I want to pretend I don't know who they are. And like, I was like, they had me on all these drugs to not feel the pain and all this shit. So I thought everything was funny. So like, we go into my room, and like, I try to pretend I don't know who my parents are. And like, I started laughing right away. Like, they couldn't even like, they were like, you like, they knew I was joking, but like, I couldn't even go on with it. But it was like 2 hours of like joking around, and then all of a sudden the pain medicine wore off, and I was like, holy crap. It was like the worst pain in my life. Like nothing worked. They were giving me the amount of what would have been morphine that my body could handle. They were giving me nothing was working except for this stuff called Fioricet. And it had caffeine in it. And I think that's the only reason it worked, but it took the headache away. Like, it was like somebody was taking a hammer and putting a nail in my head like all day long. It was like the worst pain. Like,
was it localized?
Say what?
Was the pain localized?
Well,
right, like,
what is that?
I had fluid buildup in my knee, and they tried to give me a whole body anesthetic or a whole body painkiller. They wanted to give me like an injection or some shit. They gave me like a local thing. And then they're like, all right, we're going to put this into your veins. And I was like, what do I need that for? They're like, oh, it's for the pain. I was like, I thought you just gave me something for the pain. I don't need, like, isn't the pain in my knee? Why do I need a whole thing? And then 3 hours later, every inch of my body was in the most excruciating pain I'd ever been in. Like, I'm lurching, almost vomiting. Yeah. I'm like, well, you already gave me a thing for the pain. Why is my whole body hurt when you did something to my knee? So was it like localized, like a serious paper cut, or was it every inch of your body?
The pain was right in my head. That it didn't go anywhere else. It was just straight in my right. So like, yeah, it was crazy. Like, I don't know what they did. So it was on the right side of my head. they shaved the side of my head, right? They cut a square out, took that piece of skull out, took the brain bleed out, then they put the skull back on. So like there's like a, you know, like on the back of a picture frame, they have that little like thing that flaps. There's like something like that in my head that's holding it in place, but then there's also 3 titanium screws that are screwing it into the skull and like keeping it there. And like when I've gone to the chiropractor, you know, like they take like a x-ray of your head to see your spine and stuff, and you can see the little like freaking like teardrop looking flap thing that's in on my head. I'm just like, man, that's crazy. Still, oh yeah, it's still there. Yeah, I'm just like, man, that's still there. But like, yeah, I remember them telling me like, you can't do MMA anymore. Like, you can't be punched in the head. I'm like, and I was cool with that. I was like, fine. Like, yeah, I had enough fights. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm like, but I still want to do jiu-jitsu. Like, I want to get my black belt. Like, I'm a brown belt. I got 4 stripes. Like, I have to. Like, there's no way I'm gonna stop doing that. They're like, you have to be very careful. Like, I wasn't, man. Like, I didn't know what was gonna happen because like after that surgery, like they wanted me to try to walk that same day, right? And like the right side of your brain like controls the left side of your body, apparently. And I remember like trying to step, and my foot was like, you would step, but my foot was going on its side, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't walk. And I remember trying to step again, and it went on its side again. I'm like, dude, like I had no control of my body. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, all right, get it together. Like, it's going to be okay. And like, I stepped again. And that third time I was able to put it flat. I'm like, all right, I can do this. And like, I went again and I was able to walk. So I'm like, all right, I can do this. Then they let me go back to my room and I chilled for a little bit. And then I think I was good for that. They just wanted me to do it that right after, it was shortly after the surgery, just to get going. Right. Then they did it again the next day. And same thing. Like, I took my first couple steps and they both kept going on the side of the foot. And I'm like, man, what is happening? And then I got it, you know, and then they would come to my room and then they would take me out and have me do all these weird little drills. Like, I had to in and out of a bathtub. They had to see if I could do that. I had to like, they put these like foam things out on the ground in the hallway and had to like walk through them like a little maze or something. And I'm like,
like a slalom.
Yeah. And I was like, can I kick these when I'm done? They're like, yeah, you can kick them if you want. So they let me kick them down the hallway. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, man, and I had the freaking, I think I had a walker too I think I had one of those. So I don't remember, to be honest, but yeah, it was a crazy time. I'm just like, man, I couldn't believe it happened. I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks or something before I came home. And then once I came home, I was still out of work, like for a couple months. And, I remember like I would have to practice walking, So like where I live now, like my parents I used to live upstairs, now I live downstairs, but my parents live across the street. So like I would call my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go for a walk. So she would come across and like I would literally be able to walk to the next house and I would squat down on the ground because I was done. Like I was worn out. And then I would get up and I would walk back home. That's all I could do.
Mentally or physically?
What?
Done. Mentally or physically?
Physically done. Yeah, mentally, I was like, man, I was mad. Like, I was like, this sucks. Like, this is not cool. Like, I want to be back doing what I want to do. Like, this is not cool. And little by little, like, I had to keep doing it every single day. Little by little, it got better. Going to my checkups, the medicine, like the headache medicine helped. And then like finally getting off those like, man, I was like on 11 different, I was taking like 11 pills a day or something like that. Ridiculous for a minute. Like they had me on all these different things. But yeah, like I think they didn't want me doing anything for a year. Like I was like, what? Like I gotta just be silent for a year. And then like, you know, I would go to my checkups. Like they were like, first they were weekly, then they were bi-weekly, then they were monthly. And like every time they checked up, things were improving. And like I would ask, like, hey, can I start working out? Can I start doing this? And they're like, hey, you can't lift more than 50 pounds. I'm like, okay, fine, like, cool. And then like I remember just doing bag drills for a while, like that. I didn't roll with nobody. I was still, hold on, how did it work? I forget when I started going back to the gym to teach. That might have been like 6 months or so after, something like that. Once I went back to work, once I was able to go back to work at like the school that I was at, then I
You're
started
a
going back.
teacher, right?
Yeah. At that time, I was a special ed para at a school, and now I'm a head special ed teacher at a different school. But yeah, um, yeah. Once I was able to go back to school, that's when I was like, all right, now I can go back to teaching jujitsu. I should be fine. But I wasn't rolling with anybody, and I was just rolling
Were
with
you
people.
demonstrating techniques, or were you just
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
brain
yeah.
behind?
I was demonstrating on people.
Okay.
And then I was just like, while they were rolling, or no, while they were rolling, I would watch after class, and I would just like mess around on the bag just to like try some movements out, just to see. But yeah, it was like that for a minute, and then I think I, I think I did a tournament like just before a year of the surgery. Just before a year, I competed, and I won the tournament. I couldn't believe that I won the tournament. But I was like, holy shit. I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was one of those ones in like the Waukesha wrecking ones they did. I don't remember, but I remember I won the tournament. So I was happy. I was like, cool, one tournament back, and then competing, like trying to compete more often after that. But yeah, that's, man, it was an interesting time. It was like, it definitely took a lot out of me. Like being like rolling, I was always nervous. I'm like, I would get, I accidentally get hit in the head all the time. Like I would catch a knee or catch an elbow. And I remember like, man, one time I got kneed in the face and my tooth came through my lip. Like
I've had that shit happen. It's fucking stupid. You're like, this isn't combat sports like that. How the fuck?
Right. And then I'm like, dude, this is like, I thought I thought I had a brain bleed again. And I went to the hospital, got scanned. They stitched up my lip. The stitches came out like in an hour. Like I was eating food and the stitches were out. I was like, whatever, that was a waste of money. But I just want, at least they scanned me like, dude, you're fine. Like you got to be careful. I'm just like, man. But I've gotten just like, when was it? So that was 2010 was the surgery. And then it was, what year would that have been? 2014. I was just like, man, I don't know what it was. I just wanted to fight again. And I was like, how old would I have been? I don't know how old I was, maybe 30, 31 or something at the time. I was like, I want to try fighting again. Like, why not? Like, the last time I got scanned, it was like 3 years after. They were like, your brain looks okay. Like, if you want to fight, it might be possible, but we don't recommend it. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I don't want to fight. And then the following year, I was like, yeah, I think I do. And then I ended up getting scanned again. The same surgeon who did the surgery, he looked at it and he's like, looking at you now. He's like, I can't even tell that you had an injury like this. He's like, the way you were talking, the way you're conducting yourself. He's like, I can't see it. He's like, looking at your scan, like the tissue, like everything like rebuilt and healed nicely. He's like, I can't even tell that there was a surgery besides the piece of the skull. And he's like, I don't agree with you wanting to fight, but he's like, I give you my blessing. That's what he said. And I was like, shh. Yeah, I was like, all right. And I felt like, I was like, oh my God, like I'm like, everything's fine. Like I can fight again. Like this is going to be great. And, I did. I had to talk. I was at Rupersport at the time. I remember talking with Duke about it. And he's like, if the doctor says it's okay, like you're welcome on the team, of course. And we started training again. And it was like, trying to get back in the swing of it and all that. And I remember like the first fight back, man, it was just like being like that scared feeling, like having that in the back of your mind, like, man, my brain is not what it used to be. And I'm like, dude, I don't want this to happen again. But like, it would like thinking about it now, like if I could go back, I definitely wouldn't have done these. I would definitely wouldn't have tried to fight again. I don't think I should have done it. It was just like something like I thought I should do. It was like at the time it was like a lot of stuff. Like I'm like, all right, this is
You went
something
through
that
a lot of like crazy life changes around that same time, right?
yeah. There's a lot of like
Okay.
personal nonsense
Yep.
going on. Like
Yeah, I was on the outside, but even I heard about that kind of stuff.
yeah, but yeah, gave it a shot, and I was like, if I could go back, thinking about it now, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't a good idea. But I fought like a man. I fought scared. I know I fought scared, and I remember talking about it afterward. Like I fought scared. Like I backed up a lot. I was backing up. I like throwing nonsense. Like, and then so I ended up going to Pura Vida then, and I ended up having a fight scheduled. That fight fell through, but I knew that I was like, all right, they I was gonna get another fight, and like sure enough, like a couple months later, like another fight opportunity came up, and took that, and it was for a belt, and I ended up winning it. I was like, oh, tight, this is cool. I won by submission. I was so happy. I'm like, man, dude, that fight was nuts. Like that kid threw like a flying knee. He rocked me. Everything went white, and I remember being on the ground, and like everything came back too, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm on the ground, and then like I passed his guard, I think, but then once I got to side control, that's when I knew, like, all right, I almost got knocked out right now. Like everything went white, and like I didn't know what was going on. Instinct takedown, ended up in like half guard, I think, and then I passed. And once I passed out, everything became clear, and I could see again. And I was like, all right, and I held him there, made it to mount, and then he reversed me, got in my guard and triangle, and it was over. But
so you said before you even got from the surgery room to your room, you were trying to schedule a fight again, right?
Yeah. Jokingly,
seemingly, within a 24-hour period, the doctor said you're never going to be able to fight again, and you were like, yeah, okay. How did you make what changed, right? Like, you're so dead set, I have to fight. I'm going to schedule this fight now. Yeah. I haven't even begun the recovery process, and I'm going to schedule a fight now. And then right away, like, oh yeah, I'm never gonna fight again.
I think like no, it was just at that time, like when I first was asking about phone, like I was just like joking around. Like the doctors remember, like I was always acting a fool. Like in the hospital, like they were like, we're never gonna forget you. Like that's what they told me. Like I was always talking smack. I was cussing all the time. Like it was jokingly, like, like they would come in and I'm like, oh man, you motherfuckers are here again. And like it was just joking. Like it was I don't know, you had to make the best of that time, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I was friendly, but I was trying to be funny too a lot of the time. So it was just, I knew it was that first time shooting up, asking my phone, it was just all in jokes, and like they told me ahead of time, and like I kind of made peace with, like, oh yeah, I don't need to fight anymore. Like I think I had 20 fights at that time. Yeah. 20. So
you had 8 more fights after this?
Wait. My bad. I had 25. My bad. Yeah,
okay, 25. So you had 3 fights after this?
Yeah, 3 fights. I lost the first, won the second, lost the third.
Okay.
Yeah. That third one, man, that was the one. That was a rude awakening. Like every hit, everything turned white. And I'm just like, dude, this is not cool. Like I can't be getting.
Was it the dude, or was it something about you? Why did everything?
It was just he was a way better striker, but it was just like the hits. Every time I got hit, it was like everything I would see white, and I'm like, that never happened before. It was like that shouldn't have been happening. Like it was just in the shots weren't like super hard. Like super hard shot, boom, things would go white. That's normal, I think. But just like teen shot, like man,
stuff you saw coming that didn't even hurt. You were getting like little flat.
It was like, give me a fight. I'm like, dude, I can't fight like this. There's no way I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm gonna like more damage than already has been done. So that was that was like right before I started my teaching job. It was like 3 days before I started. I showed up my first day at my school. My face was beat up. It was like, man.
What'd you tell the kids?
Luckily the kids were there for 2 weeks. But
the kids were there for 2 weeks?
Huh?
So they didn't even know. The kids didn't even find out. They didn't even ever see you like that?
Oh, the scars were there. Like I got the stitches. I had 6 stitches on my nose. I had a black eye, but it was healing. So they saw my face. But
because like kids ask crazy questions, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure special ed kids ask even crazier questions.
Oh, they would always ask, what's wrong with your nose or what's wrong with your head? There was like a scar up here. It was like something got infected and made like a scab. I don't know what it was, but then there was the stitches on my nose were the most noticeable. And they still ask me, what's that on your nose? I'm like, oh, it's a scar.
Okay.
But hang on, I'm gonna plug this computer in real fast.
Yep. And to all the people that are viewing, thank you for being here. Every hero has an origin story. Every villain has an origin story. And so does every expert. And so far, this is the most savage fucking story I've heard. What do you mean you wanted to fight again after you had brain surgery? And then you did it. Yo, I've always known about Omar. I did not know you were this much of a G. That's absolutely fucking nuts. I gotta go deal with this vacuum that keeps yelling at me. Fuck out of this room. That's absolute insanity. I cannot believe that you even had, like, I will joke about pretty much anything, but I'm not confident. I'd be like, yo, where's my phone? I gotta schedule a fight right now. That's nuts. So you kept doing jiu-jitsu after those fights, right? Like, so that last fight, it looked like it was like 5 years ago, 2016, 2017.
Yes. What would it have been? My last fight, it was 2015. Yeah. It was like, what would it have been? July 31st, 2015 in Iowa.
Okay.
Yep.
And
but
then,
yeah, man. Go ahead.
About the same time you stopped competing in jiu-jitsu then?
No, just like,
right. You said it's been about 5 years since your last jiu-jitsu training.
Yeah. I did a couple tournaments that year. I did a combat corner, and then I did checkmate submission only. I filled in for Jake Clipp in the 205 division. I got whooped. Zach was in the same division. But yeah, I got whooped. I mean, it was going against big dudes. I knew I wasn't gonna win. I was like, what? They just asked me like, hey, I heard you want to fill in for Clip. I like, I said it jokingly. I'm always joking about some stuff, and like they took, I don't know, the promoter contacted me via Facebook. He asked me. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I'll grapple them. I don't care. So I grappled against the 205ers. I weighed like 140. I think I weighed in with my clothes on. I was like maybe 143 with my clothes on or something. So it was cool. Like it was it was just a fun thing to do. But then what happened? That was 2016. Then I did like a super match at another checkmate submission only in like 2017. And then after that, like I tore my labrum in my shoulder. So I was rehabbing that. And then later that summer, I tore my meniscus in my knee. So then I was out again and I had surgery on that. Surgery on my birthday of all days.
I remember
like,
your knee.
Brain surgery on Thanksgiving, knee surgery on my birthday. So, yeah, then rehabbing that, and it's just like being busy with work. Like school takes a lot of time of the day, obviously, and it's like I only train at the dojo, Pura Vida, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, like you said, like I gotta start finding a good time, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, getting the crew or something. Because I saw being at the tournament yesterday, like people asking me about competing, like the young guys on the team, like, dude, you're gonna compete again? You should compete. And I'm just like, and I train with these guys, like they're younger, they bring it all the time, like. And then I see like Scotty Steve right there. He's asking me, he's like, man, you're still young, and like he's competing too, and like I was like, man, he's still going, like, and he's older than me, and he's still like winning all the stuff. So I seen other older guys. It's like, man, I gotta try to do it at least a little bit, because then it gives me more motivation. Like sometimes I'm at the gym, it's like, do I need to go? Like I'm not gonna compete or nothing. Like I can just do a workout at home or something like that. But it's like, yeah, having to like something to motivate me is something I think what I'm missing like in my life. And then COVID messed up everything. Honestly, right before COVID, there was an Arnold's in March of 2020. And that was my plan. I was like, I'm going to go to the Arnold's. There was like 6 guys at 135 in the advanced division. I was like, perfect. Like this is going to be something like that, 6 or 7 dudes. And then it's just like they stopped letting, there was not going to be any vendors or something because of COVID. So they weren't going to let any like spectators. Then it was just going to be like the competitor and their coach or something like that. And like, I was just going to go with my girlfriend at the time. So then I was like, is she going to be able to come in? And then it just ended up being like, maybe they're not even going to have the tournament. Is this even going to be a thing? So then like everything's shut down, school closed. I'm like, well, it's probably not a good idea to go. Actually, the Arnold's was before the schools even closed, but I already like made a decision. Like, I'm not even going to go. Like, it's probably going to be a bad idea. COVID, who knows what's going to happen. So, but yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. That's something like to think about now. Like, I'm 38. I'm not getting any younger. Like, might as well make the most of these years.
It seems like your primary motivator for training has always been competition.
Yeah, totally. And obviously, like coaching too. I like coaching aspect. I like helping out the younger generation. I used to be them, like these kids, like these younger kids that competed yesterday. I was them, like trying to go to tournaments, trying to like move up in rank, trying to fight. Like there's a lot of the guys on the fight team that are competing yesterday. They're trying to improve. So like, just like being there for them is a motivation too. But like when they ask me about competing, I'm like, man, then it's like, all right, I want to compete just for them too, you know. It's just to see how it goes.
With all these forced layoffs where you couldn't compete, why are you still on the mat?
It's just a like a lifestyle. Like I don't know, jiu-jitsu is like it's like it's a lifestyle. Like I'm sure it's like a lifestyle for you. A lot of us, like something we want to keep getting better at. Whether it's like with your training partners, like when COVID was shut down, I was still like, with gym was like open, I didn't go because for those reasons, but like I was working from home. Like I made a little gym in the basement. I'm just like doing drills on the dummy, just so not to lose any movements. Like the warm-up drill, stripping on the ground, forward rolls, backward rolls. Like, you know, I'm like, sure, people that don't do jiu-jitsu at all or aren't even involved, they're like, man, this dude's fucking weird. Like, what's he doing? Just rolling with a dummy on the ground? Like, it's not, people don't understand unless you're like in the type of sport, MMA or jiu-jitsu or some sort of combat sport. You're not going to understand. But yeah, like having it, it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. Just something that it's a part of me. Like I don't think I'm ever gonna stop. I don't have any plans to ever stop. I plan to be an old man with like one of those different colored belts at some point in my life.
How old were you when you got your black belt?
I was 29, I think. I was 29.
So you were young enough that you realistically could get to red belt, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Look around at other people you know who got their black belt and think about how old they were.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of us are young enough that the idea of becoming a red belt is even possible. Right? You were 18 when you started jiu-jitsu?
18, yep.
I heard so I started with Bacon. And I think you guys I think he's a little older than you, like a year or two. But
yes, yeah, I think he started jiu-jitsu like a year before me.
Oh, he started before you? Okay.
Oh yeah, he started, and then I came. I remember he was all like, "Hey, I used to be the youngest guy on the team. Now you're the youngest guy on the team."
He said it was that you. Yeah, that's kind of how he put it to me. Like you were the baby that was following everybody around, going to all these like crazy travels.
Yep.
He said there was. I'll keep this kind of vague, I guess. There was always a John Freeland style room and a Henry Matamoros style room on all these trips. And the stories that happened in each of these rooms were very different. Right? So like I heard a story about John Freeland triangle choking a stray pit bull. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. On a road trip. You have?
I haven't.
No. They found a dog on the street, brought it into the hotel room, apparently caused it to ejaculate on Poochie's pillow, and then Freeland was fucking around with the pit bull, playing with it, and shit got too real, and he choked the pit bull unconscious with a triangle.
What?
Right? Yeah. So that's what was happening in the John Freeland style room.
That was before my time. That had been way before I started.
And then I heard that the Matamoros style room was a very different atmosphere once you opened the door. You immediately knew what was happening once you opened the door. Do you have any crazy stories that you can share on camera?
So I just remember the first Arnold's I ever went on. Like I was 18 years old. I was this young kid, like a white belt. Like everyone was in their 20s, like competed already a whole bunch of times. Some of the guys like Henry and John already fought a few times. I'm not sure. I think Bacon was on the trip. Anyway, we had two minivans and SUV. And they were packed. We had both were packed with people going to the
15
Arnold.
dudes in 3 vehicles, something like that. Yep.
And first van breaks down. Our one friend Jimbo, he's driving his van breaks down, like still in Wisconsin, I think. And we go by them. We split up the truck or split up the car. Like some people jumped in the other van, some people jumped in the SUV. I think that's what happened. So it was like it was packed. Then we keep driving. The second van breaks down. And I'm like, what? So then like Henry and Bacon were, I think it was Bacon. They were in the car. They stayed in the van, and then like another person came to pick them up or something. And Bacon, I think, stayed with the van because it was his van and he had to get towed, so he didn't want to go to the Arnold's. I think if it wasn't Bacon, it was somebody else, but I think it was Bacon. And so Henry ended up, I think, who picked up Henry? This girl, Leah, picked up Henry and drove him to the Arnold's, right? So then, like, we finally get there. It was a crazy way of getting there. It was like everyone, like, 2 vans broke down. And when does that even happen? Like, 1 van, okay, understandable. 2, what the hell? So luckily I was in the car that never broke down. We just kept going. We just kept picking up people. And I remember the dude driving, for some reason, he kept the window rolled down and it was cold as hell. We were in the back with blankets. We were like, hey, can you roll up the window? He's like, no, it keeps me awake or something like that. It was like something to keep him awake, but we were frozen. My toes were, oh my God, it was so bad. Like, dude, why can't he just turn the heat on? Like, it's freezing. Like, is he mad at us that we're all in the car?
Is he mad at us?
This is even crazier. It gets even nuts. So we go to this tournament. We weigh in.
Arnold's is in Ohio, right?
Yep.
It was like an 8-hour drive.
Yeah, about 6 to 8, about depending on traffic.
Yep.
We get there, we weigh in, and it's packed. Like it's a convention. So there's weightlifting stuff going on, cheerleading, like they have fencing. They have all these different events. It's like all these people from everywhere. And we go back to the hotel, and there's like 8 people in each. We had 2 hotel rooms, 8 people in each room, and it's like a party in both rooms. Next day we wake up, we go compete. Man, whose match was it? Red had a match, I think, that went at like, it went late. It was in the like 10 o'clock or something. Then John Friedland had one at like 12 o'clock or in the morning, or 12 or 1 in the morning. Something,
Shit.
yeah, something crazy. Because it was like the tournament was supposed to start at a certain time. It didn't start for like, it was always late. Like whoever was running it, it was run by, I think Helson Gracie ran it back then. I don't know what, I forget who ran it, but like it was always like it always started late, ended super late. But we were trying to go to, we're like, all right, John's competing at 1. It was like 11 or something. So we're like, let's go to White Castle. We go to the freaking, car. The car got towed. The SUV.
The one car you guys made it that you took.
Yeah, it got towed. So we find out where the tow lot is. We walk to the tow lot, right? And
in
then
the middle of March or whatever in the Midwest.
Yeah, there was like, I think, I don't know, it was a group of us. It wasn't just like, it was the guy who owned the car, me, and like 2 or 3 other people maybe. We walked to the tow lot. Like it was luckily it was still open somehow at like, I forget what time it was, but it was like late. It was late at night. We get the car out. I forget how much it costed, but it wasn't cheap to get your car out. And like, then I don't know if this happened at that point or if it happened before. The dude, listen, he puts his key in to unlock the door. The key snaps in half and gets stuck in the lock. But luckily, this dude was smart, and he had one of those magnetic boxes that was underneath the car. So he got a spare key and was able to open up on the other side and, get in. But it was like one thing after another, like one van, the other van, the car gets towed, then the key breaks. It was like, dude, what in the world? And then we make it back to the Arnold's with White Castle. We ended up getting White Castle. We showed up with a bunch of White Castle, right? And like Friedland just won. I remember it was purple belt division. And he went against this Brazilian dude, and the Brazilian dude was smashing everybody. Friedland was like, he made it to the finals, and like the Brazilian guy's team was like, everyone thought he was gonna win, and Friedland like put him out with this like loop choke that he does, and like, yeah,
circle choke.
Yes, that one.
Yep.
And
Pedro Sauer talked shit to the other guy's coach
at that
before
one.
That match.
Oh,
yeah, Bacon told me about this. That Pedro Sauer was on the side like going back and forth between English and Portuguese, talking shit to that other guy's coach, that his student that didn't even train at his gym was about to fuck your guy up.
Wow. Man.
That's nuts. The stories that happen on these trips, like you can't make these things up.
No, dude, we won one fight. This is years later. This is like, oh man, when would it have been? 2008, maybe 2009. We were at some tournament in Ohio, and like we're downstairs, and like this is after the tournament, and the reception dude starts talking shit to like Chris Center, and we're like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I do UFC." That's what he said. He straight up said, "I do UFC." And we're
the reception guy or Chris Center?
No, the receptionist guy. I don't
Beautiful.
know.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Dude, me and Chris Center just went down to the lobby. I don't know what we were doing. We were trying to like look. I think we were looking for a vending machine or something. And like, I think we asked the dude where a vending machine was, and I don't know what his problem was. He just starts talking shit to Chris, and like, he was about to come around the thing, and I'm like, I call up to the room. I think I forget who I called, but I was like, "Hey, can you guys come down? Some stupid shit is about to go down." And then like nothing happened. The dude just went back behind it, and we went upstairs. It was like, what type of nonsense is this? But yeah, there's always this like after the tournament, all this crazy stuff happens because we all go out and we all do. People are doing whatever, drink a little too much. And
did you ever go to those seminars up in Lac de Flambeau?
Not seminars, no. Just
they had a couple like free seminars where like Dan Henderson taught, Rich Franklin taught, Red taught, Duke taught, Freeland taught, like all sorts of huge names that they brought in from far away. Like Dan Henderson was living in California at this point. They brought him out to bumfuck Wisconsin, and he taught a seminar for free for all of us.
Wow. Was that like a hotel?
Yeah. Lac de Flambeau Casino.
The whole chunk or something. Or no, they have their own one. I think they have.
Yeah, they have their own casino. It's the Lac de Flambeau Casino.
That's where they had the King of the Cage fights, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's it's Indian reservation.
Yep.
After the seminar, John Freeland's partying with, all of us, and then like two of his guys. I could figure out who they were, but it's not important. One of them grabs the scarf that Freeland has on, chokes him unconscious in the bar, right? The bartender runs around to the other side of the bar. By the time he gets around and is like, "Whoa, what the fuck was that?" Freeland stands back up and he's like, "No worries, man. I dropped the soap."
I have a story like that at Bertucci's like years ago. Courtney Corpella. I was wearing a polo shirt, and she just like everyone was always we're all jiu-jitsu. We're always messing around with chokes or whatever, and like I'm wearing like a polo shirt, and she just comes in and she like puts a grip in, puts another grip in, chokes me unconscious, like out cold. The bartender comes and is like wants to like throw her out. I'm like, no, it's cool. Like we're just messing around. But I was like, dude, what the hell? Like, I don't think she meant to do it. But like, she just like, and like, I went out cold. I'm on the floor. Dude,
and now when you're like half stupid, you're like, it's okay. No, I'm not mad. You don't got
it. Yep. Yeah, that's a funny story that happened. I was like, man. But yeah, no one understands. Like, whatever. Like, we all thought it was hilarious. There's a whole bunch of us just chilling.
Yeah, because in context, that shit's hilarious. And out of context, like, that's some me on the back, I can't breathe type shit. Like, ooh. Do you have any goals left in combat sports at all?
Well,
you said you told me you want more colors on your belt.
Yeah, I still plan on doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I got the 3rd stripe, so then the 4th will come eventually, the 5th will come eventually, and then whatever happens after that, like, I'm sure Henry, he'll be the one that'll get promoted to those other ranks before. I don't really know how it works, like who ranks.
Do you know how many stripes he has?
He's got 4, I think.
4? Okay.
4, yep.
Do you know when he started?
When he started?
Yeah.
I want to say like 96.
Okay.
I
gotta do one of these with him too. It hadn't even crossed my mind until right now, but I absolutely need to do one of these with Henry.
Yeah, totally.
That's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
I heard there's these Costa Rican guys who they live in Costa Rica, but they come up to Philadelphia and they do their training in Philadelphia. And I guess Henry coached on some Latin American Ultimate Fighter show.
Yep. What was it called? El Matador or something? Or
yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
So they saw me wearing a Pura Vida shirt, and they're like, "Oh, you're Costa Rican," and I was like, "No." And I like told them like, "Oh no, Henry is blah 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 blah." And they're like, "Henry Matamoros? You know Henry Matamoros? He was our coach on the show. He told me he fought on mushrooms and that the arms were snakes, so he had to fight a man with snakes for arms." What do you mean he fought a man with snakes for arms?
Oh my gosh.
Crazy shit. Yo, you don't like this is such a the more I look into it, the more I think about it, like on paper, you are a respectable human being with a good job, and I don't know, man. Like I don't really know your life that much, but like somebody walks up and meets Omar Choudhury, like, yeah, that's a normal civilian. He works at a school with children that need more help than more. He's a good person. And then you hear the stories of the savagery that is baby Sass.
Yep.
What the shit?
The two different lives, two different people.
Yeah. It's a crazy world. Like, it's yeah. Do you have anybody who has asked to affiliate under you?
No, not really. When I was at Rufus Sport, like there was a time where we were trying to build like an association. Like it was Coach Daniel Wanderlei was there as well, and like there was a time where like that's where I was like more involved in jiu-jitsu. That was like my main job. So, but other than that, like I like once I left and joined Pura Vida, like I found another career. I haven't really been doing it or like try to do that at all, like association type stuff. It's crossed my mind, but it just seems like I don't really know like how to go about it. I do one thing, like you just asked about goals, like definitely competing again is a goal, but like also like doing more. I would like to get involved in doing seminars and stuff. Like that seems like something that would be a lot of fun. Actually, I got asked yesterday out of the blue, like someone came up to me, is like, "Hey man, would you be interested in this spring coming to my school to do a seminar?" And I was like, "Whoa." Like, yeah, I would. But so stuff like that, maybe like doing like more privates and stuff on the side would be something I'd be interested in. But like, yeah, getting more involved in it again. Like I used to be super involved, and then like with the new job, it's just been taking me away from like this big part of my life. So getting back involved in it is a big goal. So,
are you interested in tipping the scales back to where jiu-jitsu is like your main thing, right? Like there was a period of time where you were the head coach of one of the Rufus Sport branches or something, right? Weren't you?
Something
along
yeah. For a minute, I was the highest ranked there, and then Coach Wanderlei came, and like then he was the head coach, and it was nice having him. Like I really wanted to have someone higher than me so I could like, learn from, and like, man, I learned so much stuff from Coach Wanderlei.
Is he as good as they say? Like as far as like his knowledge of jiu-jitsu?
Oh yeah. Totally.
I've never had the opportunity to work with him. So I just hear stories about who he is, and then I hear different stories from his students about what he is on the mat. And the only time I've ever seen him compete is against Ryan Courtney. But then I see his kid.
Dude, Gabriel killed it yesterday. He double goal. He did a flying triangle. I just saw the video today. I was like, what? He literally flew in the air, and like the way he like caught it and pulled guard, it was just like it just flowed right into it. I was like, wow. It was amazing. But yeah,
I don't know where that kid wants to go, but that kid's going anywhere he wants to.
Totally.
He has, like, everybody knows. You know who the Rotulos are?
Oh yeah.
Right. The first time I saw them, I was a purple belt at Reds, and I saw a video of them when they were 9 years old. And I said to Red, "These 9-year-olds have better technique than I do. I'm a purple belt. They're 9 years old, and they are." And like, I'm a technique first guy. I've never been particularly athletic. The study of technique is the reason I am where I am, right? Gabe is every bit as talented as those kids.
Totally.
Every bit. Gabriel Wanderlei is the motherfucker of motherfuckers. And he's only like 7 years old. I don't know how old he is. Probably 17. I've got no idea how old he is, but he's super young, and that kid could kill anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone.
I don't know if he's 18 for sure. I think he's 18. Or maybe older. I really don't know how old he is, but yeah, he's young. He's young and he's got a future for sure in whatever he wants. Probably jiu-jitsu and MMA because he's doing both now. I'm sure he's gonna continue in both.
Yeah.
You know, evolve in both sports. But man, but yeah, learning from his dad, like for those years, like I learned, like as a black belt, like just like little details on stuff, like wow, this is something like I never thought about, and like being able having like someone with his credential, like because when he came, he was a 3rd degree, I think, so he was already a black belt for a minute, and I was just a new black belt. So just learning like so many different like details and stuff was cool, and like there's stuff that I still like, yep, this is the stuff from Coach Wanderlei, or you know, I remember who taught me what, and it's always like, yeah, all the different coaches showing a different twist on something or a different aspect or different detail. You just remember those things and like you mold it to your own personal game and figure out what's best for you. But yeah,
that's how I felt when I got to Ricardo Almeida's school. Like I consider him my very first jiu-jitsu coach. I had plenty of high level people around me who could grapple and could grapple well, but I never had someone around me that was that far ahead of me down the path. Right? Like I think he's got 5 stripes. I got my black belt 4 years ago. He got his black belt when I was 7 years old. Like, right? He's made 50 black belts. So within like 6 weeks of me being there, he's like, you do that wrong and that wrong and that wrong. Go fix it. Like there was never Red was leaps and bounds ahead of me during the time that I was there as far as his ability to grapple. He kicked my ass. I caught Red twice. It might have been 3 times. And I know for a fact that those were bad days for him. Right? So like but there was no, like Red could look at my game and say, you got to fix all these things. And I don't understand what, and like, it's always been like I'm close enough that, right? Like when I started, Bacon was a 2-stripe blue belt and he had just gotten his 2nd stripe on his blue belt. That was the highest ranked person I had met until I met Henry, and Henry was a brown belt when I met him. Right. So I had like finally getting exposure to someone who, especially coming from like source, right? Like Daniel basically came here from Brazil, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And then he was teaching at Carlson Gracie in Illinois.
Okay.
And he came to Rupa Sport.
It's like a different look on jiu-jitsu, right? Milwaukee created its own jiu-jitsu. The style that comes out of Milwaukee is very different than the style that comes out of other places for one reason or another. But I think that the biggest reason is nobody was there to show us the path. So we had to pave our own path. So thank you for paving that path, man. Like you were a pioneer, right? Did you know that you were at one point ranked number 5 in the world?
I did not. I thought I was only up to 13th. I don't remember. I know I was 13th at one point, like in way early 2000s. No, like 2007 or 8 or something. I remember Fight Matrix, but I don't remember maybe I did. I honestly don't remember, to be honest.
Oh, I looked it up. Because I knew you were ranked high, but I wanted to know exactly what it was.
I remember you saying it one time in the class, and I'm like, because you told the class I was in the top 10. I'm like, dude, was I? I'm like, I don't remember breaking the top 10 ever. And I remember being like 13th or something, or in the like, but like there was people on those rankings were in all, like the number 1 dude was some guy in Japan. Like I didn't know anybody, all these people from all over the world in them. And then my name just shows up. I'm like, oh, tight. I'm in a ranking thing. I'm like, that's cool. But yeah, I had no idea about that. But
I bet your kids have no idea that their teacher in 2007 was the 5th best fighter on the planet.
I didn't even know. So
right? Like that's nuts. That's so fucking nuts. The shit you've done, like, and it was never like, did you ever have a plan of like, yeah, I'm gonna be a ranked fighter? Or was it just like, I'm gonna take another fight?
No, not really. Yeah, I definitely always wanted to take another fight. I didn't know what was going to happen with, like, there was like UFC back in the day, they had 155. That was the lowest weight class. So there was like nothing for like little guys, except like if you went to Japan or something, they had like Shuto and they had like lower weight classes. But like when I don't know, like getting those opportunities never really came up for myself. So it was just like fighting locally, then regionally, then getting opportunities to fight in different states around. So it was just like the goal was to get into like obviously like WEC or UFC, and then unfortunately like, you know, stuff didn't happen, like injury, the brain injury was like yeah, that was before that I felt like I was on a roll, like I was doing very good. I was like on a 5-fight win streak. Then I took that fight in Miami, got the nose broken, and then everything kind of went off from there. But it is what it is. Like I can't be mad. I still like living my life. I got a, you know, good job and stuff right now. So yeah, it's just
cool, man.
At least I can still be involved in, you know, the jiu-jitsu. That was like the thing that got me into the MMA, but like I'm still in the jiu-jitsu, which is important to me. So
got you. Is there anything that you would want to tell people coming up right now? Something that you wish someone had told you?
As far as jiu-jitsu wise, just always, yeah, I'll do a jiu-jitsu thing and an MMA thing. Jiu-jitsu wise, just go to the gym as much as you can, train, practice the moves that your coach is showing you, ask questions, and then get tapped. Like, don't be afraid to roll. Like, there's a lot of new people, they come to the gym, they're so hesitant to roll, and I think it's just because they get tapped out. And like I remember getting tapped out over and over and over with the same stuff over, and it was like, man, that would make me mad, but I would still keep rolling. And it was like, and I tell the new people, like, hey, try to roll once, take one off, try to roll again, like make a goal, like maybe just roll once today, roll twice the next time, roll 3 next week, like just keep improving, like, or, you know, but just try. Like you're coming here, like people are coming to the gym to learn. They like, everyone comes for different reasons. It's like not everyone's there to compete. Not everyone wants to be like a black belt or stuff, but people are there for every different reason. So like maybe like this is not for everyone, like to want to go and like roll and stuff and get smashed like that, and that's fine. You know, everyone's got their thing. But like for the guys that want to compete or like, you know, work their technique, like definitely roll as much as you can and get tapped as much as it happens, and eventually something will click for you. For MMA though, MMA wise, same thing, you know, listen to your coaches and then just train smart. Like,
what do you mean by train smart? Because
like,
people talk about that, but that's
yeah, totally. I'm just trying to think how I want to word it. Just like take care of your body, take care of your brain is where I'm going with it. Like getting hit in the head is not a good thing. Like, especially you're just recreationally, just you can get cracked with something super hard. Like you can get a concussion, not even know. You go home, you're not supposed to sleep. You go to sleep, you're doing, you know, more damage than you think. But like just being aware is, I don't know how to even put it. I don't know how someone could be aware of, like, you know, coaches are like, I know after my injury, that was like a awakening to some coaches, and like they took it more seriously. I know they did at Rufus Sport for sure. I know at Pura Vida they take it more seriously. And like when I came to Pura Vida, Jake wanted my letter from the doctor. He researched my injury and like he knew a lot of stuff about it. And like honestly, like certain states would not give me a license. When I came back, that was another problem getting fights. Like Wisconsin gave me a license. Illinois denied me my license at the weigh-ins. Like I was the main event. They freaking like, we're not letting you fight. And I'm like, what? I'm the man.
Oh my God.
Like I cut weight, I lost all this weight, I took off work, I did all this stuff, and like we're not giving you your license. And I'm like, dude,
those motherfuckers.
Like it's the weigh-in. Like, why are you telling me now? Like I just did all this work for nothing. And then that whole show got canceled. There was I forget, a whole bunch of fighters got in trouble not in trouble, but they like medicals had some stuff wrong with their medicals, so a whole bunch of fights got scratched. Main event got scratched. Then there was no show. But yeah, just like then cutting like the way to cut weight too, like being smart about that. Like, man, we were so dumb back in the day, just like going in a sauna for hours, just trying to sweat out. And it's like, man, we have no idea now. Like when I came to the Pura Vida, Jake showed me this water loading thing, and I'm like, what the heck are you talking about, water loading? And he's like, this is what you do. And he tells me, and I'm like, no way. Like, I'm not drinking a gallon of water this day, like 2 days before, or like the week of the weigh-in. Like, I can't drink that much. He's like, no, trust me, watch, you do it. And I followed it, and man, I was like 132 on Friday, like, oh, how did it work? I totally went off on a tangent, but like Monday we drank a gallon of regular water, and then Tuesday was a gallon of regular water. Then Wednesday was a gallon of like baby water. It was like there's certain water for babies where it doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. And back in the day we would do like distilled water. But yeah, this was like a baby water. So like you drink a gallon of that, and then Thursday drink another gallon of that. And I'm like, man, and I'm stepping on the scale and my weight was going up, and I'm like, man, and I'm like, all right, it's just water. Like something's gonna happen. And I'm like, Friday, met up at Gold's Gym, and I go in the sauna, and no joke, it was like I did a little like 30 minutes to break a little sweat on the cardio machine. Go in the sauna. I was 132. I had to be 125 in like a span of 2 hours. 5 pounds, or no, like an hour and a half. It was 5 pounds just came off my body. I was 127, and I like called Jake. I'm like, dude, I'm 127. He's like, all right, don't go in the sauna anymore. Just wait till I get there. And he's like, I don't want you to cut all the way out. I'm like, all right, cool. So he shows up to Gold's, and then like we just went in the hot tub for a little bit. We were just talking for a little bit in the lobby because we had plenty of time before the weigh-ins, and I still had 2 pounds to go. And we went in the hot tub for a little bit, went in the sauna, and then I was 125. Then went to go weigh in. Unfortunately, that fight fell through. But it was like, man, I wish I knew about this water load and stuff years before, because like there was fights where I go to the gym with the sauna early in the morning, and I just be cutting weight all day long. Sometimes we go with the team. A lot of times I went by myself. Like there was plenty of fights where I would just go cut by myself, and like I'd be laying on the floor. And people are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just cutting weight for something." They're like, "Okay, cool." I would just tell people I was cutting weight for wrestling. Everyone knew what wrestling was, so I didn't feel like talking. Like I don't want to explain stuff in the sauna, like with naked people in there. Like leave me alone. Like I'm just cutting weight by myself. But
what's the most weight you ever cut?
Total, like I would go from like toward my end of my career when I was cutting more, because like everyone was cutting a ton of weight, so I was like, I got to do the same thing. So trying to bulk up, I was like 142, cutting to 125, but that was like a span over 2 weeks. So it would be like 142, and then like the day of the weigh-in, I would be like usually I'd have 7 pounds to cut, so I would cut 7 the day of, but overall like 17 to 20 pounds, give or take, depending if I'd always be between 140, 145 when and cut from there.
What's the most you've ever seen somebody cut?
Shit, and probably like 20 pounds. Dave Klitschkowski, dude, I remember him and I being in the sauna. He lost, so we were both in the sauna for the same amount of time. He lost like 10 pounds and I lost like 1. And I was like, dude, this sucks. And it was like, it was the reason, because he's a big dude and he had more water to lose. But I was like, how does this happen? Like, dude, we've been in here the same amount, doing the same thing. He lost 10 pounds. I lost like 1. I was like, but oh well.
Bacon told me he cut 18 pounds the day of weigh-ins once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do some ridiculous stuff. Like it's crazy what people's bodies can do, and like, but it takes its toll for sure. Like hydrating back up, like that's a hard thing to do, like the right way. Like once you cut all that weight, like how to hydrate back up, man, it's
a whole different sport almost.
Right.
Like just being able to manipulate your water and manipulate the number on the scale like that without killing yourself. Right. Darren Till got a bunch of flack off one of his weight cuts. I'm definitely going to say this backwards. So I'm talking to both people at the same time. Darren Till and Sergio Pettis. I learned about these around the same time. One of them went blind and the other one went deaf while they were cutting weight. And then once they rehydrated, it came back.
Wow.
But during the weight cuts process, one of them went blind and the other one went deaf.
Wow. Dude,
right?
I just thought of this one guy. It was an amateur fight. He was cutting for an amateur fight. We had to cancel it because he sent me a text. He like stood up out of the hot tub, got out, slipped, hit his face on the ground, and broke his tooth, chipped his teeth, like his front 2 teeth broke off. And like he sends me a pic of his teeth in his hand, like, "Hey coach, I can't fight tomorrow. I'm like, oh, whoa, that's nuts." But like, yeah, that's crazy. Like being safe about cutting weight. Like you got to have somebody with you. You like cutting weight by myself. Like that was not a good idea. Like driving and stuff. Like after that, like dude, I didn't know what was going on. I would always go cut weight at the YMCA at Grand Avenue Mall. I go pay a $10 day pass because they had a sauna in there, and I knew they would let me in. Sometimes they would like, oh yeah, we don't do day passes anymore. I'm like, hey, I got to fight tomorrow night. I got to cut weight. Please, can I just use your sauna? And like, I'll just give you $10. And like, they were cool. They're like, all right, go ahead. So like they were all, even when they weren't supposed to, they were cool to let me in because I just straight up told them like, yo, I need this right now. Please don't make me go anywhere else. And yeah, that would be another thing, like training smart, cutting weight smart, and just having somebody with you, especially for those weight cuts, just to be safe, is a big thing, because you never know. Like everyone thinks they're tough as hell. Like every dude thinks they're so tough, but you know, like you got to be smart and safe.
I've blacked out in saunas on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
Just being in there too long.
Yeah. Were you by yourself?
Body. One time I was in there alone when I was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah. I went in the sauna on my own. And somebody woke me up and it's like, yo, you've been in here for at least 45 minutes because you were here when I got in here. And then I went to the pool and I came back and you were asleep. So I must have just blacked out in the sauna. And then a second time, I was actually like, I was watching the clock, and then some guy came in and we started chatting, and like, I think I was like 5 minutes away from my time to leave when I got in there, and then I stayed in there for another 20 minutes or something like that. And then I remember I was in the shower. I got out of there and I walked over to the shower, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I was laying on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So then I got up and I walked over and I tried to take a pee. And then I felt my legs give out, and I woke up on the ground again. And then I stood up and I just yelled. I was at the Wisconsin Athletic Club in Dallas, and I just yelled like, "Hey, I keep blacking out. Can someone help me?" Mm-hmm. And then I walked over and I sat down against a wall. And then the next thing I remember, there's like a guy there who's like, "Yo, what do you need? Can I get you some sugar?" And I was like, "Man, if you're not gonna give me protein, go away. Like, give me some water. Make sure I don't die." But
yeah.
Stop trying to give me candy and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of trained myself to tolerate the heat. I used to go to the Y with Bacon a lot, and he was really, really into steam rooms. Mm-hmm. So like I started training when I was 14. So I was probably 16, 17 when I started going to the Y with him. Mm-hmm. And that's all I would do when I was there. I was only there a handful of times. We would go and sit in the steam room for like 30, 40 minutes. And then like you hear, oh, that's how wrestlers cut weight. And like just being a kid, it was just normal. Yeah. Right. Yep. Now I'm way more into cold therapies than hot therapies.
Yeah.
I got a cattle tub.
Okay.
Outside my patio door.
Nice.
Full of water.
Oh, whoa.
I don't even put ice in it.
Okay.
It gets cooled by the night air. And then the second you wake up, you run from your bed. I grab my my robe and my swimsuit, and I go jump in the bucket. Right.
Yep.
The wrestling room that I work at. What up?
How long do you stay in there?
So the guy that actually, I met a guy in California who he's the self-claimed king of recovery, and the more I know about him, it's not like a crazy title to give yourself for him. So he came up with this method, right? Mm-hmm. All he does is he goes and he gets right out of his bed, jumps right in the bucket, dunks his head, and walks right out.
Just his head?
I've been there for a while. He does it every single day, though, right? Mm-hmm. Every single day. So what this basically is, you know what cryotherapy is?
What'd you say?
You know what cryotherapy is? So cryotherapy is there's these chambers where the temperature gets down to like negative 150 degrees. Right. So they cool the air either through nitrogen or some other way. I forget.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. They have those places around those little like, people go in and they stand in there and I know that. Yeah. Okay. I heard it weird, but yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
He started the very first cryotherapy center in San Diego. Mm-hmm. And then like opened a couple of them. And then he realized like, what was he doing using other people's equipment? So he went and had one created for himself. And then he sold one to the Clemson Tigers. And after that, it was like, when I met this dude, he lived in a normal house. It was a nice house, but it was a normal house in San Diego. Like Chris and I were there on vacation. Met a guy. He says, asked me if I had been to a dispensary yet, and I was like, no, I haven't. He's like, yo, come over to the house. We'll go to a dispensary. We'll pick up some weed. We'll go back to the house. We'll smoke a bowl. We'll eat some pizza. It'll be a great night, right? This guy's a Jeff Glover black belt. Okay. So I actually
you got his dog. Yeah, you have Jeff Glover's dog.
I have Jeff Glover's dog right here.
I remember that. That's so cool.
So Brian starts telling me all about this cryotherapy stuff. He's into this thing called cool sculpting. Like, he's got this guy sitting in his living room in a chair with what looks like ice packs all around his stomach. And what this cool, I'm going to get back to the bed to bucket thing. This cool sculpting thing, what it does is it freezes your fat cells. Okay. So normally when you get fatter, your fat cells swell. Okay. And when you lose weight, they shrink. They swell and shrink and swell and shrink, but they never go away. What cool sculpting does is it freezes them to the point where they die. And then you go and you like crunch them up and your body reabsorbs them and you no longer have those fat cells.
What? Wow.
Yeah. So this is, I've had Charlie for almost 3 years. This would have been March of 2019. March of 2019, I met this guy. 2 days ago, I saw an advertisement on Instagram for cool sculpting.
Wow.
Right. So like, I even texted him like, did you create this thing too? Right. So cryotherapy tricks your body into thinking you're dying. Okay. It puts you through such extreme cold that it releases shock proteins. People call them cold shock proteins. It's the same thing that happens when you're in a sauna. Your body thinks it's going to overheat and die. So it creates shock proteins. It creates heat shock proteins, whatever. They're the same thing, shock proteins. So if cryotherapy, you go in there for 2 minutes and it's so cold that it takes away all of this inflammation, right? Shock proteins are some of the strongest anti-inflammatories known to man, and they're produced by your body, right? It's supposedly the strongest ones come from, I'll think of it in a second. It's an injection. They pull your blood out. I think it's platelet-rich plasma. I think that's what it is. They pull out some of your blood. They put it in a centrifuge. They spin it and heat it up, and it changes colors, and then they re-inject it into injured locations. Okay. It was only illegal in like Germany, but like Kobe Bryant has it done. Daniel Cormier had it done. People were traveling outside the country, highest level athletes, until they finally made it legal in the US, right? So this is similar in its level of anti-inflammatory strength, right? But instead of me going to negative 150 once a week, once a month, whatever it is, and getting rid of all of this, every single day, I go to 30 degrees and I knock it down to there. And then, you build up a little bit more. And the next day you get in and you knock it down to there, and you build up a little more. The next day you go, you knock it down there. So you're chipping away at the inflammation instead of killing the entire thing.
I see.
Right. And then I wrestle at a club, elite wrestling, and they jack the heat up to 95 degrees. All right, so you're wrestling effectively in a low-grade sauna. Mm-hmm. But by the time I get home, my core temperature still hasn't stabilized, and a cold shower doesn't work. I've tried it because I'm in there for an hour and a half, right, wrestling hard with teenagers who don't understand how tired it is.
Yeah.
Everybody in there who's not a teenager most of them are decorated wrestling champions, like All-Americans, state champions, national team member. Maybe that guy qualified for the Olympics. I don't think we have any like Olympic medalists. I don't know if we even have anybody in there that like went to the Olympics, but it's like it's that level, right? Like this is where Frankie Edgar comes from. Yeah, is this room, right? So lately, when I get out of wrestling and I get back at like 11 o'clock at night, I still can't go to sleep because my core temperature is so hot. Like I'll be walking through the room dripping sweat. Just you walk up the stairs and all of a sudden your body flips and you start pouring sweat again. And I'm like 2 gallons of water in and it's still not working. So lately I've just been hopping in the cool bath, right? Now, Brian Dyer, that's his name, right? Brian Dyer does bed to bucket in San Diego, California. where the temperature ranges from 50 degrees to 70 degrees. I've been doing this shit in New Jersey. This morning, I went to go do it, and my bucket's frozen.
No.
Going, pop, 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 break up the ice. And then I like to sit in there. I just put on music.
Okay.
I put on music, and then I like, all right, I'm going to sit in here until the end of this song.
Okay.
So I took a while off. My first time doing it back again was like a week ago, and Chris set a 1 minute timer. Mm-hmm. And her parents were in town, and she like, I was like, yeah, I haven't done a minute, so 1 minute's probably cool. And she goes to her parents. She's like, there's no way he's going to last a minute. So I sat there for 2 minutes because fuck her.
Yeah.
But now I'll go and I'll start a song, like whatever the song is, listen to and I'll be in there for like 3-4 minutes.
Nice.
Or I'll go in there and I'll hang out until it doesn't suck anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? Because at a certain point, you ever heard of Wim Hof?
Yes. I was just gonna mention that. That's what I was talking.
He's got a whole bunch of these kinds of things of cold therapy. So like cold therapy is not new. It's been done forever. In Russia, they jump from saunas. They're big on saunas in Russia. They call them banyas, and they'll go from a sauna and then they'll jump out into the snow.
Oh yeah, yep.
Hot tub to the snow. I'm sure you've done that kind of stuff too, just dicking around as a kid, being in a cold lake.
Totally.
George St. Pierre keeps his pool open year round. Lives in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Mm-hmm. Leaves his swimming pool open year round next to his hot tub. 5 minutes hot tub, 5 minutes pool. 5 minutes hot tub, 5 minutes pool. Says he's been doing it for years. Thinks it's the secret to his longevity and his health. Said it's also the reason he sleeps as well as he does, because his body flies from one side of shock to the other side of the shock, and he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he says that adrenaline dumps him. So then he gets to bed and he's shot, like completely shot, immediately falls asleep. So that's why I've started doing these things at night as well.
Okay.
Like go from overheating, now freeze yourself.
Wow. Right?
Just to see if it works.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's working, but I like it. If nothing else, it works up here.
Right.
I don't know how much, I don't know the science of how much this specific method works on my body, but I know it works on my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's hard as shit. And doing hard shit is good for you.
For sure. Totally.
I think that's one of the things that that the American society has lost. Right? We, by and large, we live such a cushy lifestyle. And human beings are designed to alleviate struggle. Right? We are always looking to make things easier on ourselves. So now we live in a society where everything is pretty easy and the average person doesn't really have to struggle. So when I see the opportunity to do hard shit, I do hard shit. This is fucking hard.
Yeah, that was hard. I've done ice baths and stuff, but it'll always just like for a little bit, and then it just, you know, you just stop doing it. But it's like, man, that's every day. Like, that's
I wanted to do ice baths, but it's like $25 every time you want to do one.
Exactly. Like preparing it is like, no, you did a smart thing. Having that big thing outside filled with water just gets cold, and it's there every day. You don't got to fill it up. You don't got to get ice. Just the weather is perfect. It seems like where you're at for it. So
even better for you, homie. Even better for you.
I could just go in the snow. I just jump right out in the snow.
Yeah, no, put a bucket out in your backyard.
Yeah.
Although, no, Ben, the dude who owns Primal, what up?
Wouldn't it freeze solid though? Like all the way through?
So it might get cold enough there. Ben, whoever owns Primal, I can't think of his last name. Schultz? Ben Schultz?
Ben Schultz, yep.
He commented on mine when he saw me breaking up the ice bucket, and he's like, yeah, mine froze solid and cracked my tub. It'll be like a week before I get another one. Chris told me if my tub cracks once, okay, that's a mistake. If my tub cracks twice, I don't have a tub anymore. Because it was like $100 to do the thing, and honestly, I got enough work out of it. I clean the dogs in there too sometimes too. They hate that shit because it's cold. I highly recommend it if for no other reason than the mental discipline. One of the things that I don't know if you're big in caffeine. Yeah. One of the things that Brian said it helped change is he doesn't have to have caffeine anymore.
Okay.
Because he goes from I'm asleep, undercover, super warm. He sleeps. He's got one Dogo Argentino, 130-pound dog. Like mine's 155, his is 130, right? Big ass motherfucking dogs. But he sleeps with his. So he's cuddling with this giant monster all the time, plus however many girls he's got in his bed at that night. The dude lives the craziest life I've ever seen. When I met him, normal house. After he sold that thing to the Clemson Tigers, he had a porn star mansion, right? Like the kind of place that you rent to film a movie.
Okay.
I'm never gonna. The bedroom. He said, when you guys come out to get Charlie, you're not staying in an Airbnb. You're not staying in a hotel. You're living with us. And this is when he had a normal house. And then we got there, and like we took photos. He had an infinity pool that went off the mountain.
Oh my God.
He was the highest house on the top of a mountain in San Diego. He had 1 acre fenced in the city of San Diego, right? Wow. The bedroom that he gave us, the only times he had ever been in that room was to show people that it existed and to set up his remote control racetrack. So Brian goes right from his bed and then jumps into his bucket, and he says he doesn't have to have caffeine anymore because that shock snaps him awake.
Wow. That's interesting.
Right? It's super cool. You might need to fill it and empty it a little bit more in preparation, or maybe just don't have it all the way full. Like half drain it if you know that the temperature is going to get super low so it doesn't expand too much. Right?
Yep, that makes sense for sure.
I'm going to have to make some adjustments when Chris's contract with the military ends at the end of next summer. Mm-hmm. And then it's very likely that we're either returning to Milwaukee or returning to Texas.
Okay.
Because Texas is dope.
Yeah.
Have you been to Texas?
I've been to Houston. That was a long time ago. We went there for ADCC a long time ago. Okay. Yeah, Houston. It was hot as hell. It was
it's super hot.
It was super hot. We went in July. It was so hot, man. Wow. I've never experienced heat like that. Are you from Milwaukee?
Yes. Born and raised?
Yep.
Okay. Did your parents grow up in the States too?
My dad is from Pakistan, and my mom is from the States. She grew up in Milwaukee, but her my grandparents are Italian. So my grandma was born in Italy. My grandpa was born in Milwaukee, but then went back to Italy and was there for a while. So.
Okay. Got you. So yeah. So you come from a similar spectrum that I do. Like when it hits 100 degrees in Wisconsin, people are panicking.
Yeah.
The year we spent in Texas, there were 100 days over 100 degrees.
Dang.
An average day in the summer is 102 degrees. Yeah. I saw it as hot as 109, and that my car sat under a carport. Chris said she saw I think it was 113, 116 from her car sitting still in the sun. And then you got to go get in that thing. Like those sunrisers that people get in Wisconsin, you're like, what the fuck is this thing for? In Texas, you have to.
Right.
You have to have one or you can't drive that shit.
No, I remember we would I went with one of my friends down there, and his dad would pick us up. And Chris Piper?
Yep.
Yeah, I flew down there with Chris Piper because he's from Houston. And so we would go eat or whatever, and then it was time to go back in the van. It was always his dad would open up the van, start the car, but nobody would get in the car yet because it was 120 in the car. I remember looking at things at 120 degrees. I was like, what? Yep. So we would stand out the car, let it all the heat come out, let the AC get going, and then we would get in and drive. But it was like that. Every time you would go somewhere and leave the car, you'd get to go back in, you'd let it
air out. Like reverse Wisconsin. Wisconsin, you want to roll all that shit up, jack the heat up, and go let your car sit for 20 minutes. So finally, you don't have to do this the whole time you're in there. Right?
Man.
Texas is the whole opposite. But culturally, that place is cool. Really, really cool. There was people kept saying was there a big culture shock going from Wisconsin to Texas? No, not at all. Not really. Very normal. I'm sure if I had been in Texas longer, I could point out more things that are different about Texas that are different about Wisconsin. But I did inventory of this recently. I've lived on 3 different continents. I've been to I think it's either 7 or 8 countries. I gotta finally actually count. I've been to almost 30 states. Mm-hmm. The strangest place I've ever been in my life, New Jersey. Shit you not. I've never seen anything like this place. Mm-hmm. It's the most confusing place I've ever been.
Yeah.
It's nothing like anything I've experienced. Like, I lived in the Netherlands for 4 months, and I was actually pissed off when I got there because it's effectively the Wisconsin of Europe. I was like, I just left Wisconsin. Like, I fled this place. How did I move from my house to my house? This is bullshit. Right? Moving to New Jersey was the biggest culture shock I've ever seen. It takes me half an hour to explain why this place is so weird, but it's like everything that the world hates about America is turned up to 11 in New Jersey.
Oh my gosh.
Except for racism, because this is very much a multinational state. Everything here is owned by Indians and Arabs, and like they run all the businesses, and then all the white people work for them, right? Like there's tons and tons of all the ethnicities. Like in Milwaukee, there's Mexicans and a couple of Puerto Ricans. In New Jersey, there's no Mexicans here. There's every other kind of Latino. Every single Latino in the planet exists in New Jersey, except for Mexicans. There's only like 6 of them in the entire country, in the entire state, right? So there's literally there's no room for racism. It's like being at UWM, right? Like it's one of the few places, like Milwaukee is the most segregated city in the country.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard that, but like they did it on purpose. Right? Like whenever they busted up Brownsville and they put down the freeway specifically to draw lines between the cultures, right? So it's way more racist in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin than it is here, just because people live separate and very unequal.
Right.
Well, here, everybody's working 6 jobs and they're trying to give you one of them. You know where else everybody is trying to work 6 jobs? In the hood. Everybody here is hustling. And I said that to my dad, and he's like, yo, if every single person's hustling, that's not hustle, that's struggle. The people that are living in mansions work 100-hour weeks just to stay afloat. The people that live in shacks work 80-hour weeks just to stay afloat. Everyone in New Jersey is trapped in the rat race. Everybody here is struggling, unless you've made it out of that little thing. Like, don't get me wrong. On paper, New Jersey's dope. And if you can figure out how to live a life in New Jersey, this is one of the coolest places I've ever been. But nobody's got time to live life here. They're too busy being at work. And then those extra 20 hours, they got to figure out how to raise their kids and sleep.
Yeah.
Nah. Chris would thrive here because she's from a place where everybody had to struggle. I could get by here because I live an insulated lifestyle inside the gym. I will not do this to my children. Absolutely no way, no how. If we didn't have kids, maybe we'd stay here longer. Business-wise, I've networked. I've met people I never would have met. I've done things I never would have done. Yeah. Right? Like, I filmed 3 DVDs for BJJ Fanatics already. Right? Next month, I'm going to film 2 more. Now I've heard of Josh Janis. Did one for BJJ Fanatics.
Yes, he did.
Has done one for BJJ Fanatics. Also, I think Ben Askren has, or is about to, right? But that's it. That's it. Where we're from, nobody has those kinds of opportunities. Right. Out here, like, all right, whatever. It's super normal. Super normal. It's like world champions out here are a dime a dozen because everybody comes out here and hustles. All the biggest businesses are here. I've never seen gyms like this. You remember when did you ever go down to, where did Henry go when he left Milwaukee? Crystal Lake, that dude.
Jeff Kearns.
Do you ever go to his facility that was 10,000 square feet?
I've been to a couple of his. I think I've been to 3 of his different facilities over the years.
So I heard I've only been to the one. Okay. And it was so big that he had to downsize eventually.
Was it the one that had like a separate wrestling room in it? Yeah.
And a separate strength and like a whole 50-yard turf thing. Yes. Like there was a boxing room, like all that shit, right?
Yep.
Gyms like that are a dime a dozen out here. Wow. There's super gyms everywhere. Like it's crazy the level of money that exists in New Jersey and the level of like facility that they get. Right. And then you think about it and you're like, oh, people in rural Thailand are still kicking banana trees. Right. this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It really, really is. It's like, I don't know how else to say it. This place is nuts. But you have anything else you want to say to the people?
Not that I can really think of off the top of my head. Yeah, not sure. I think I shared a lot of stuff. I was trying to think of some crazy stories. I was like, man, what other crazy stuff happened? Like, but I don't know.
You've shared more crazy stories than anybody else has.
Yeah.
Right, for real. I mean,
Yeah.
You're either the fifth or I did Solo Montel, Jake. You're the sixth podcast.
Yeah.
Right, in this series. You've shared the craziest stories.
Zach, I have a funny story. I don't think he'll care that I share this. So this is like, so this is like when after the brain injury, so I did that first fight, lost by decision where I said I was like backpedaling, running back, whatever. This is the second fight that I had where I won the belt, right? So I'm working at a school. I'm a third grade assistant at the time, and I'm trying to become like a teacher. So I just get accepted into this certification program, a teaching certification program for like the summer and the following year. I'm like, yes, it's Monday. Like I just got good news. And then like I go to the gym and like I'm talking to Jake. Hey, man, there was already a fight coming up too, but we thought it was going to be in 2 weeks, right? So we thought it was going to be like in May. It was supposed to be beginning of May or something, right? So like he's like, yep. I'm like, I'm ready for it. I was telling him like I just got accepted to the program. I was all happy and stuff like that. So we're training, class is going on. He comes up to me, he's like, Omar, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, the fight isn't in 2 weeks. The fight is this Friday. Can you make weight? And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know if I can get off work. I just took off work today to go to get like in the program. I'm like, I don't know. I'll let you know tomorrow as soon as I can. And I'm just like, dude, I like go check my weight. I'm like 142. I'm like, dude, I can't make 125 like in a week. And like he tells it was like a Friday. Maybe if it was like a Saturday or something, I could have like cut weight Friday. I don't know, but it was just like I had to go to work. I didn't have time to like cut 17 pounds or something like. So I was like telling him like, he told the promoter, and like the promoter was like, all right, we'll just do a catch weight at 130. And I was like, fine, like, all right, whatever. And like if I had to make 125, I probably could have done it or something, but I was just like, I don't know. It was just like out of nowhere, right? So that day it was the fight was a Friday. So I had to work Thursday. So I'm like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm like trying to lose this weight to get down to as close to 130 as I can. And I wake up Thursday morning, go to where did I go? Gold's Gym at like 4:00 in the morning before work. And I do like a workout there, 30-minute like on the cardio machine. Then I go in the sauna for as long as I could until I had to like go back home, get ready for work. I go to work, and this is the day we're taking the third graders to a Brewers game. So I have nothing in me. I have to cut weight that night. The promoter, I was allowed to miss the weigh-ins. Like I was like, I gotta work. I'm not gonna get to, where did we fight? In Nebraska, at the Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm like, we're not gonna get, it was an 8-hour drive. I'm not getting there till midnight. So they're like, okay, we gotta catch weight. You can weigh in at midnight. We'll be waiting for you at the hotel. So we go to the Brewers game, and like I have nothing in my system, and like, man, third grade kids running around the stadium, and like I remember at lunchtime, these little kids that had their like bag lunches that the school gave them, and there's like carrots in them, and like this little kid is gonna throw the carrots away, these little pack of carrots. I'm like, can I please have your carrots? And they're like, sure, here you go. So they give me the carrots. I'm like nibbling on these carrots. I'm like, man, these are so good. I'm like in the Miller Park, like eating these carrots, like, dude, I'm dying. Like, and then like I remember the kid, like we were trying to leave, and the kids go off running, and I'm trying to run after them, like, guys, stop. And like my body is drained, like I can't even run, like I feel so like I'm worn out. Then Zach picks me up right from school. Like he picks me up from school. We drive straight 8 hours to the place, and he's like, man, he's like, I have this problem where I get pulled over almost every time we go to a fight or something. Sure enough,
Jake
right
too.
exit, right before I exit, he gets pulled over. And the officer's like, why are you going so fast? He's like, hey man, we're just trying to get this guy to a weigh-ins. We missed the weigh-in. We got to weigh in by midnight. And the officer just like, he let us go. He's like, all right, just slow down, whatever. Let us go weigh in. And we meet the promoter in the lobby. Like I stripped down in the lobby of the hotel, step on the scale. I made 130. No, I was like 129 or something. So, and it was cool. They let me be a catchweight because of short, like, whatever mix up, miscommunication. And then like we go back to the room and I'm trying to like rehydrate back up. And I got an IV. Like I was able to get IVs sometimes from like people. So, we didn't have no one to do the IV. So Zach is like, my girlfriend's a nurse. Let me call her. So she's talking us through how to put the IV in my vein, right? So he's trying to put it in like my bicep, right? And she's like, you got to be careful. If a bubble forms, like you got to stop, because if the bubble goes all the way through, if the bubble gets to your heart, like you die apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an air bubble and it'll kill you. If you get air in your veins, you'll die. Yeah. Dude,
so like he's trying to put it in, and this little bubble starts forming. I'm like, no. So we take it out. We try to put it in. It's not working. Like we take it out. I'm like, dude, we're not doing the IV. And then so I start trying to eat food. Like I had brought a bunch of food with me to and fluids to hydrate back up. Man, everything I ate literally came right out of my body. Like my body wasn't holding nothing. Like anything I ate just came right out right away. I was on the toilet, like whatever, man. It was like I didn't throw up, it was just flush coming right out. And I'm like, dude, I have to go get an IV from the there's no way I'm gonna fight. Like I can't keep any food down. Like everything is coming out. I feel like crap. Like I can't. And it's like we waited in at midnight. It's well after midnight right now. And like he's like, all right, let's if you need to go, just let me know. I'll take you. And like I call the emergency room, which was very close by, and I'm like, tell them what's going on. And they're like, all right. And like luckily, like the guy who was there, he was familiar with MMA fighters. He had some friends that fought. He knew exactly what I was trying to do. He knew I was trying to cut weight. And he's like, if you need to come here, we'll be here. And I was like, should I bring my IV bag with me? They're like, no. They're like, leave all your stuff.
You bring your ghetto-ass IV bag.
I'm like, I have to pay for theirs or something. I mean, bring my own. Whatever. You put it to use. So we go to the hospital and they gave me 2 IV bags and I was feeling great. And this is the craziest. So Zach is asking me, we just, everyone knows about the brain injury. So we're asking. He was just asking questions about it. So we started talking about that the whole time, kind of like we did. And I don't know what I was talking about. And then all of a sudden, Zach gets up and he's like, sorry, man, I'm getting a little nauseous. And he's like, sometimes when I hear stories like this, I get a little nauseous. And he squats down by the garbage can and he's like, "Ugh, ugh." And I'm watching him. All of a sudden, he falls backward and he's asleep. He just fell backward and he's asleep. And I'm like, Zach. And I'm like, help, someone come help. And I literally grab a hold of my IV and I'm like, do I rip this out of my arm and get up and go find help? Because I'm like, dude, he's snoring. And it was crazy. He did he fell backwards, but his head stayed off the ground. He did a break fall, his head snoring. And the nurse comes in and she's just like, well, I don't know what's up with nurses and talking funny or whatever, but she comes in, she goes, oh, well, what happened here? And I'm just freaked out. I'm like, I don't know. We were just talking about something and he just got nauseous, went to the garbage can, fell backward. And then he ended up getting a couple IVs too in the bed right next to me. So they're getting IVs. It's 4:00 or something. I don't know. It's super late. I forget what time we got to the hotel, but he went back to sleep. I was super hungry, so I waited until the restaurant in the hotel opened at 6 a.m. So once they opened at 6 a.m., I went downstairs, got breakfast, ate some food, and then I finally went back to the hotel or back to my room at whenever that was, 6:30. Fell asleep till noon, and then I woke up and I was like, I need to go to Walmart to get some. Oh no, Jay called me because another girl got a fight last minute. Do you remember Jessica Erdl?
She was gone before the time I got there, but I know the name.
Yeah, so she got a fight like last minute as well. So they were on their way up, and he's like, "Hey, can you go to Walmart and grab a couple things?" I was like, "Sure." And I went to Walmart to grab some stuff, and then I got a couple things for Zach and all that, and yeah, went back, and then went to the fight, and yeah, I was just afraid. I was like, man, I hope they don't take my license away. That was every fight I went to, even though I weighed in and everything, I was always afraid that at some point some commissioner was going to come around and like see my paperwork and be like, no, we can't let this guy fight. So, but yeah.
Was that the one you won?
That was the one I won, yeah. Then there was a couple others in like
That's even crazier.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. It was that one I was like, I felt more prepared for some reason. It was just like I was at Pura Vida. It was my first fight out of Pura Vida, good weight cut and all that. I felt like, I don't know, just more confident for that fight. And it was like one of those fights where like you go to the weigh-in and you see the opponent and you already knew you had him beat just by the way he looked at me and looked away. Like he didn't want to, he wouldn't make eye contact with me. I'm like, all right, I got him beat in this. And like, you know, there's different stages. The fight happens in different ways. Like you got the weigh-in, there's a little like, you know, weigh-in's, you know, a stare down type thing. Like you start the fight there, kind of like getting.
I had one of those moments.
Yeah.
We made eye contact.
Yeah.
And I looked, and that guy was broken.
Yeah.
And then he beat the fuck out of me.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
He was actually closer than I remember it being, but in the fight, I just thought he beat the fuck out of me the whole time.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, I couldn't look at people's eyes. Like I couldn't look at people in the face because I would start laughing. Like there was some times where we would like, you know, they make you stare at each other. And like me and the dude would be looking at each other and I'd start laughing. So then I got into this thing where I would just look down and I would like, it would look like I was looking at, but I was like looking at their cheeks or something. I wouldn't make direct eye contact because I didn't want to start laughing, but like you wanted to look serious. So like you try to get someone there. But so yeah, that was like a crazy trip. Like, you know, fighting out short notice, like, oh shit, the fight isn't in 2 weeks. It's actually in 1 week on a Friday, not Saturday, like you're shorter time. And then you got to try to cut it was 12 pounds because they turned into a catch weight, which was fine. However, you know, whatever, it was still for a belt for some reason. Like I didn't care about that necessarily, but it was just like, okay, cool. I won a belt.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just those belts and stuff like that, belts and trophies, like
yeah, I got them all. I still got them all. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't feel like I'm not gonna throw them away. I don't know what they would happen, but there's at my old room in high school, like, you know, you put all your trophies up, and I just like added all the stuff. There's medals all over my old room and stuff like that. I only have that belt I have at this place and like another belt, and then all the medals and stuff are all at my parents' house somewhere. Not somewhere, they're all in my old room.
I've only won one belt, and it was like 9 months ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. The only other opportunity that I had to win a belt, Red and I entered the same tournament. I think it was Naga.
Mm-hmm.
And Red was in the over 35, or he was in the Masters division or whatever it was. And then I was in just the adult division.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to clean out this Masters division, and then you can have the belt from this one. And then that motherfucker lost in the Masters division, so he took my belt.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
He came down into the other division?
Yeah, he still competed. No. He was signed up for both divisions.
Oh, got it.
Bow out to me.
Oh.
Whatever. We were on opposite sides, but he was like, yo, I'm going to take this one, and you can have that one.
I see what you're saying.
And then he shit the bet on his, so he stole mine.
Dang.
And then, yeah, I have like I've never really cared about like just the hardware. I've always been here for the experience.
Right. I mean,
there's some guys who like, oh, I got a mantle of all the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
I have a bag of medals that I consider a bag of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that I have not thrown it away, I threw away one bag. I had like a gallon Ziploc bag, 100% full of medals. Medals that I've won over. My first competitive fight in like an organized martial arts competition, I was 4 years old. Right. So I'm 30. I've been competing since I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw away a ton of medals. Like I didn't know what I was going to do with them, and I just threw a bucket of them away. And I was about to throw away this gallon Ziploc bag, and Chris yelled at me. So now I have a gallon bag full of medals, and I'm like, ugh, what are there, like 2 gold medals in here, and all the rest of them are silver? Like, ugh, garbage.
Yeah.
I don't want any of this. But I still got to win a big ass trophy because all I've ever had is like little trophies. Maybe I got like a medium trophy in judo. I need like a monster ass trophy, an obnoxious, like a Stanley Cup size trophy. Yeah. And then I will have won everything. As far as like what they'll give you. How many you won a bunch of swords too? Back in the day, that's what they did.
Back in the day, yeah, I got a couple swords. I got a ton of medals. Shit. I won a 6 foot long sword. Like, why did they have it 6 feet long? I don't know. I could barely fit it in my car. I thought it was cool, and then when I got it, I'm like, man, what is it was 6 feet long. Like, you can't even use it. Yep. You can't even use it.
Instead of being a one-handed katana, it's a two-handed katana.
Dude, right. But it's so funny because like when you pull it out, like I took the whole thing out and I opened it. I'm like, dang, this is a giant blade. But Nagas gave the swords out, but advanced divisions you were able to get belts. So yeah, I think maybe it wasn't always belts. Maybe they did swords, but I definitely have a Naga belt or Naga sword. I have a few Naga belts too, but.
I had like 1 or 2 Naga swords back in the day, and then I never got a Naga sword. By the time I started winning Nagas, they changed it from winning gets you a sword to winning earns you the right to purchase a sword.
Oh wow, I didn't.
Yeah, that's how Naga is now.
Dang.
If you win, you're allowed to buy a sword from us.
Wow. I know they did the thing. If you won like 2 advanced divisions, you were only able to get 1 belt.
Yeah, bullshit. All sorts of bullshit.
One Naga. I don't know how I pulled it off, but I ended up getting 2 because I don't know what I went up and they handed me a second one. I'm like, I didn't say nothing. I was like, I'm not gonna tell them they already gave me one for the other division. I'm just gonna take it. So I took it and I put both of them in my bag, and I got 2 for it. No one said nothing, and so I was like, oh, whatever.
What's the most matches you ever did in a day?
It had to have been at one of the Arnolds. It was like definitely in the earlier times in my career, like white, blue, purple. Those the divisions were always had a lot of people. Then like going to brown and black, like at my weight, there's never really a lot of people. It was like one person.
Like, Sam Neverman at every single tournament.
Yeah, Gato was being there. Sam Neverman. Yep.
And that was it. And then Mosquito for the like year he was in town.
Yeah, we grappled. Yep. And then like I would go to Illinois sometimes for like, well, it would be for Naga. I can't remember if there was another, but there'd be like one dude in my division, and then like I'd have one match, and then you get first place. It's like, man, that sucks. Like you just do one match, and it's like, but I'd be coaching too, so it was like, all right, I can go coach now. But like, I would like to. I always wanted to do, like, I don't remember the last time I did a tournament where there was numerous matches. You know, it was always like 1 or 2, and then division was done because we had such a small pot of guys. The last combat corner was Gato, and then another guy. It was just 3 of us. And I went against Gato twice because I went against Gato first, beat him, and then a guy showed up late, and then he had to go against Gato, and then Gato beat him, and then I ended up going against Gato again. And I was like, I kind of I wanted to go against the other guy just to get in.
Yeah, you'd rather done a round robin than a double elimination type thing.
Yeah.
Yep. I did 13 matches in 11 different divisions when I was like 16, 17.
Wow.
You remember when Henry Matamoros competed against Ryan Hall in a super match?
At King Rappler? Yes. Yep.
I did 11 divisions that day.
Dang.
Because I was still eligible. This is before they banned me from teenage divisions.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're doing teenage and adult?
Uh-huh.
Nice.
I would do gi and no gi. I would do like I still had only been training for a limited enough time that I could do the more beginner teenage divisions, but I do like beginner teenage and advanced teenage, gi and no gi.
Yeah.
And then I signed up for white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, and advanced division. Right? Gi and no gi. And then obviously the tournament, the things get combined and whatnot.
Yeah.
I remember at the end of the day, I couldn't open my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were so tired. I didn't do very well. There was too many matches. I probably did okay, but get out of here. Go. I'm going to stop doing podcasts with you in the room, Dogo. Get out of my face.
Here's another interesting thing. I remember, like, so with divisions, I never did an intermediate division before. competing. I never, because I remember as a beginner, as a white belt, this is after a Friedland fight in the Dells. Like I remember we got out of the car, and I was just a kid. Like I don't know how old I was at the time, but I was 20 maybe a little. No, definitely younger, maybe 19 or something. And Henry and John pulled me into, like, everyone goes into the place we're going to go hang out, and they pull me behind the car, and they're like, "Hey, we don't want you to do beginner divisions anymore. We just want you to. We think you should just do advanced divisions." And I'm like, "What?" And like, yeah, you don't sign up for beginner, just do advanced. That's how you're going to get. That basically said that's how you're going to get the best, become the best, like get better, is by going against the advanced guys. So like, I took it to heart, and I'm like, all right, I'm not signing up for beginner, intermediate. I'm just gonna sign up for advanced, and that's what I did. I signed up for gi, my belt color, because you had to go by your belt color. But then no gi, I always signed up for advanced, and I was just like, okay, that's how it's gonna be. And then yeah, I never did intermediate that I remember. I definitely did beginner division for sure when I started, and then it was advanced after that. Just because after that little conversation, I was like, oh, these are my coaches telling me that they want me to do advanced. I'm going to do advanced.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
I wish that I had that kind of wisdom. The the kind of coaching Bacon gave out was single leg, and you'd be like, but I'm on top of Mount.
Yeah.
Single leg him anyway. But he's got me in a rear naked choke. More single legs.
Yeah.
It was very much his coaching style.
Right. I think like for the younger guys, I don't know if they can sign up for intermediate and advanced, because I feel like
not anymore.
They have to do one.
Yeah. Most of the time. Sometimes some tournaments, if you win one division, they'll let you move up to the next one. If it's like a smaller thing.
Yeah.
But more than anything, it causes too much bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Right? They got to rewrite the whole bracket.
Right.
So like a lot of the more modern tournaments, like you remember when you could just walk up to a tournament and be like, I'm competing today.
Yeah.
And now they're like, what do you mean you're competing today? No, we closed registration 2 weeks ago.
For sure. Yep.
Right? Like, so it's a lot less of that. Like,
yeah, it happened yesterday. Like, two of our guys they were in the semifinals against each other, and I was like, hey, these are two of our guys on the same team. Can they just like get broken up and go against the other guys and hopefully meet in the finals? And they couldn't change the bracket. They're like, no, the bracket's set. And we're like, all right. And then we just, let them go at it.
I forget what tournament it is. But there's a tournament out there that does that on purpose. I think it's ADCC, where if you're on the same team as somebody and you make it, you're not on opposite sides of the bracket.
Oh, they make you go against each other so that you can't meet in the finals or something?
Mm-hmm. That way there's no false finals matches.
Yeah.
Nobody's they can't out. Nobody's like...
Yeah, they close out the brackets a lot in some like IBJJFs, like two teammates.
All the time. Mm-hmm. So they didn't want me in that. I think it's ADCC, where like they won't put you together first round, but you have to compete together by the semifinals.
Didn't one of the Rotula brothers meet in the finals and actually grapple each other at something recently? And
they did. I don't know if it was finals or a super match, or I don't know what it was, but I know they competed against each other. And there's I don't know him personally, but there's like a good brother and a better brother, right? Like one of them is very good, and the other kid is like light years ahead of the average person. Like they're both way ahead, but he's even like 2 steps ahead, and he just smashed the other one from what I remember out here. So I don't believe that their parents did jiu-jitsu, but they might have. They probably had to for this story to be true. They started jiu-jitsu as reward for being potty trained. Right? They were so young and they wanted to do jiu-jitsu.
Oh my God.
And their parents said, you can't do jiu-jitsu until you're potty trained. So they they got potty trained and started training.
Oh wow.
Those kids were homeschooled. They were homeschooled so they could do more jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
When they were like 12, 13, they were training at Art of Jiu-Jitsu with the Mendez brothers. Right? Before they were like, I think they were 16 when they moved to San Diego and started like training with Galvao and them. Like,
yep.
That kind of stuff didn't exist when we came up.
No, not at all.
Like, Do you remember when Keenan Cornelius was like a purple belt, brown belt?
Yep.
And it was like Lloyd Irvin was paying people to compete. Like they were just jiu-jitsu practitioners. Like he had like the first team. They had a house. They did the BJJ Kumite. Like that stuff was unheard of.
Yeah.
If one of those had existed in Milwaukee, or even in a location where I thought it was possible for me to do that, I never would have tried to be a real person. Right? Like I tried to go to college. I wanted to be right out of high school. I double majored in mechanical and chemical engineering, and then I learned that engineering is not an art form; it's a science. And I'm much more interested in art than I am science. I loved the design element, but the scientific element was very boring to me.
Yes.
Right. So then I flew from, I'm going to do this degree. I'm going to do that degree. I'm going to do this degree. I tried all sorts of jobs on the side. And like, then when I moved to Thailand and there was nothing else, like I was there for a month and the only thing I did all day was train, eat, sleep. Why am I doing anything else?
Right.
Like nothing else brings me the kind of joy that this does. So why do I bother? If that had existed when I was any age, 100%, that's where I would have been. I probably never would have even like gotten into fighting because I would have been so fully dedicated to that. But like outside of Scott Houston's guys, nobody in Wisconsin was doing big tournaments. Like you were either at Twisted Fitness or 360, or you did local stuff, and you were at an or if you competed, you did local stuff, or you competed in MMA. So there's kind of like an inevitable. Tell me if this story rings true to you. So in 2005, when I started, anyone who was good at jiu-jitsu, like really good at jiu-jitsu, was an MMA fighter. And there was like a couple other guys that came to the gym that were like, okay, they were pretty good. And they were like, they might've been hobbyists or whatever, but every single person that stepped on the mat that was really good compared to everybody else was also an MMA fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
so. I just kind of like, looked around and like, looks like I'm going to be an MMA fighter. Like it was never like a plan. Like Henry called you out of the blue and said, you want to fight? And you're like, yeah. Yeah. It was like,
maybe it was like, man, I don't know. Maybe you thought it was like a part of the thing. Like you learn how to do jiu-jitsu, then you got to fight eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a natural progression. Like, oh, if you're good at jiu-jitsu, you do MMA. So eventually, like I am going to become great at jiu-jitsu, which means that eventually I'll have an MMA fight. Why not? Seems to all the math lines up, and then I did it. It was the greatest moment of my life. It was amazing. And then I had to keep doing more, but it was just like so many people jump in and like okay, I'm gonna like Zach started jiu-jitsu so he could be an MMA fighter. From the first day, I think he said it was from his second day of training. Every single time he went to practice was with the intention of getting better so that he could fight in the UFC. I never had any of that.
Right.
This was. I told people when I got to New Jersey, like I got here on accident. And they're like, "What do you mean you got here on accident?" Like, no, literally. Like, I just looked up. Right. So I'm doing these podcasts, right? So I started like, okay, I'm gonna do podcasts. I'm gonna listen to, and then I started thinking about the accolades of the people I'm interviewing. Right? Like, you're the first person that I've done that has not competed in the UFC, Bellator, or PFL, except for Jake, but he like corners there, right? And solo, like, but you were ranked number 5 in the world. Like, you're just a normal dude in my life, right? Like, despite all these crazy accolades, like, we've just been on the mat together a million times and then happened to be in the same schools a number of times, right? Like, Montel was ranked number 13 in the world at one point. He's my daughter's godfather. Solo has coached 7 different fighters in the UFC and trained however many outside of it. That's my son's godfather.
Yep.
Right? Like, and it didn't, all of these are just like, yeah, why wouldn't it be? This is where I've always been. Why wouldn't any of these things happen? But it wasn't until I started like, okay, I'm gonna interview this guy, that guy, and this guy, that I was like, oh, this is not normal. Right?
Right.
I think I'm gonna reach out to Henry today and do Henry's story.
Yeah, he would have a great story. Like,
Because we got to keep talking for 5 minutes.
Yo, yeah.
Specifically because Jake came into his podcast with the intention of setting the record for the longest one.
all right.
And Jake's, I think it was, I'm going to make sure, but I'm pretty sure Jake's was 2 hours and 29 minutes.
All right. Let's beat
it. Yeah, we can't just let Jake have the victory. Like, no. He can't be uncontested. I think the next one was like Montel did, I don't know, like an hour and a half or something like that. Are you going to get back into cornering fighters at all?
Man, I haven't been involved in the MMA team for a minute. I don't know. I mean, I'm getting back involved with the coaching jiu-jitsu. Like, I kind of like, haven't been involved with the MMA stuff. Like, with a striking, obviously, I haven't done a striking class. Man, I don't know how. I did one over COVID just because I wanted to do a workout, and I was like, dude, I'll just go kickbox one day. So I went and did it. But I don't know. It would be cool. I definitely would if they, but I would have to get more involved, like show up to those Saturday practices, like know what's going on, because I'm not just going to go like show randomly to a fight, be like, oh, let me corner, and then start hollering a whole bunch of stuff that they're like, what? Why you say it? Like, I got to be on the same page with the coaches. Like right now, I definitely have no idea. So like, I don't know. Right now, I'm more focused on the jiu-jitsu stuff, especially after the tournament yesterday. I had so much fun coaching those guys and like wanting to compete again, and then like just having like people come. Like I saw so many people. Like literally, like anytime I walked by, I was giving somebody a hug. It was like so many of my old teammates, so many of my old students, and like the other people I coach with. It was like, man, I'm Coach Omar to everyone. I literally stood at the end of the mat. And I like looked old, or no, I was telling my girlfriend when I came home, I was like, man, I saw so many people. It was so good to see all these people from over the years, like still training. There was a little kid. He was 5, I think he was 5 years old when he was teaching. I ran to his dad. He like, Jesus is 210 now. I'm like, what? I'm like, how old is he? He's like 15. I was like, holy crap. And like, shortly I walked to the end of the gym. Then this kid comes out of nowhere. And like, I looked at him like, dude, this is Jesus. Like, he was just like last time I saw him, he was just, I see pictures on Facebook and stuff, but like he came up to me and like we shook hands. He was telling me what match he was going to be on, and like it was just good to see him. And then after his match, after his tournament, he came and found me, and he was telling me about his matches. And I was like, man, like I'm not the coach at his school anymore, but like it's cool that he came to share like how it happened. And he was like, man, I'm really disappointed because he got silver, and he was talking about like a mistake he made. And then I'm like, are you doing no-gi? He's like, yeah. I was like, is that same guy in your no-gi division? And he's like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, all right, well, now you know what's gonna happen. I was like, now you gotta like just tell him like, hey, now no-gi, now you get him back, like win it back. Yeah. And like just like, man, just like I remember saying like, I think I coached more than like out of the people there, I was a coach to more than anyone out of the other coaches. Like everyone has their own gym that they stayed at, but I was at a couple of different like Rufus Sport, and then like being at Pura Vida. So like, and like other people, they like went to other gyms too. So it's like people were spread out in all different gyms. It's like Coach Omar,
like a transient community, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Everybody's been there for a minute. I'm like the only dude from Milwaukee that was never at Rufus Sport. Everybody else has been there for an hour and a half, and at one point you were their coach.
Yeah. And it was just like, dude, like the amount, the level of respect that's still there. It's like, man, I felt it was such a fun day. Like just seeing everybody. Like I didn't want to leave. I had to leave to go to a family thing at like, I had to be there at 5. I was waiting because there was a couple matches left. And I was like, dude, I got to corner this guy. Like, I don't want to leave. And like, people are looking for like, hey, can you corner me? Can you coach my match? I'm like, yeah. And then I looked at the clock there, and it was like 5:15. I was like, sorry guys, I really got to go. And then I still didn't leave. And they're like, why are you here? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't want to leave. They're like, you can go. It's okay. You told us at the beginning you had to leave at this time. So I finally left. I got to my family thing on time and whatever. But there was like maybe less 5 matches maybe somewhere. And I was like, man, I don't want to miss their final matches. But like they ended up doing good. I like messaged some of them up and, find out how they did. And so it turned out to be a good day. Yeah.
Do you have any interest in running your own school?
I think about that all the time. I don't know. I feel like I'm one of the only guys, like older guys, that doesn't have a school like in the area. Like everyone, like Red's got a school, Brent has a school, John has a school, Jake and Zach, obviously they got Pura Vida. Joey, my friend Joey just moved back to Manitowoc from and he just opened a school. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure right now. Right now I'm doing the teaching thing, working at the school. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Maybe in the future, like if I stop teaching at some point, that would be something to consider. Like it's definitely like I think about it all the time. Like, do I want to what I want to do with the rest of my life? I don't know exactly. So
Do you want to be a teacher for the rest of your life?
that's a good question. Right now it's kind of I like my job, but like doing it for the rest of my life, I don't see myself doing it for the rest of my life. It's very very taxing. But I mean, just
How much longer until you could retire?
I mean, I think you retire when you're 65. So
No, I don't mean like government wise, like 20 years. Like I don't know how it is for teachers.
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it just depends whenever you wanna
Got
stop.
you. I kind of answered this question earlier, but we trailed off because I asked it in the wrong way. Are you interested in like shifting the balance back from like it used to be your life was all martial arts,
right?
Now your life is much more elementary. You're an elementary school teacher, right?
Elementary, yeah. K4, K5, first grade, special ed. I've been helping with the high school because we had like short staff, and I've been helping out with the high school caseload as well. I do work with the basketball team too. I do the strength and conditioning for the basketball team.
I'm listening. I'm still listening. Keep talking.
So yeah, I mean, I just got very involved in stuff at school, which is good. It did take me away from the stuff I like doing, but I mean, I didn't know how much I was gonna miss it. Like, I knew becoming a teacher. Like, I remember being in the interview thing before they accepted me to the certification program. I was like, I know I'm not gonna be able to make it to the gym as much. I'm ready to do that. And like maybe that was me just saying stuff to make it sound good at the time, but like I remember still trying to make it to the gym, and I was going every day. Then just like little by little, the days got longer and the free time got shorter, and it's just like then the like COVID thing happened. I think before COVID I was still going every day. I don't know if I just got into a different routine or what, but yeah, I definitely want to get more involved. And like with Courtney there yesterday, she was taking notes on what to work on, and she was coming up to me asking me stuff that I saw, and like we have a plan. Like in the past, like we would do like a competition day. Like everyone would show up like for like a few weeks before the tournament and get down. Then the tournament would happen, and then people would just stop coming. So then it's like thinking of different ways how we could do like maybe like shorter camps, like a training camp for a specific tournament. Just because like we were seeing so many stuff, like guys not knowing the point system, guys not knowing like what to do. Like people were like getting taken down and just like they weren't like regarding, they weren't going for sweeps when they should have been going for sweeps. They were trying to submit from weird positions, and like it was like it's something that we just got. It's no one's fault. Like we just didn't prepare. Like
Jiu-Jitsu doesn't work like that. You can't. Jiu-Jitsu is not like MMA where they do 6-week camps and they're done. Like
right.
It's just steady level every time, every week, no matter what. This is the competition class, no matter what's going on. And then maybe you ramp it up a little bit for that, and you'll see people come through. But don't cut the class, even if nobody shows up.
Mm-hmm. Just leave it.
Be there for 20 minutes.
Right.
Be there for 20 minutes, and if nobody shows up in 20 minutes, do your own thing or leave. Right. Okay. But if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Right. I think my daughter just woke up, so I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Right. No. First thing, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, you go to the gym 2 days a week.
2 days. Yep.
3 days a week.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Hell yeah. There you go. That's it. That's all. We don't even need any more conversation about that one. Right. You're going twice a week right now.
Yeah.
From now on, you go 3 days a week. 3 days a week. Right. And then whatever happens from there, happens from there. Right. You just said your schedule got messed up. You're not doing the things you want to do. You were going 2 days a week. Now you go 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Right. Who's your old guard? Like, I don't know if you answer, if that question makes sense. Right. Like who's part of your generation? Who started with you?
Like the people?
Yeah.
Like man, Henry obviously was there. He was the main guy. Henry, John Friedland, those were the two highest ranks. So they were like the two main guys. I'm trying to think who else. Pucci was there. Jose Rodriguez, his cousin, was there. Bacon. Red was there. Kaz. Brent came. Michael DeMarco. I'm definitely missing a lot of people.
Every single one of those guys, except for 2, I know for a fact is a black belt now, which is crazy. Keep going.
I think I'm just going off the people that run gyms, like, and then it was just like then Scott Houston came like a little bit later.
Were there anybody who started like within 6 months of you, one direction or the other, or a year of you, one direction or the other? Like you said, Bacon started like a year before you,
Yes,
right? Like, those are kind of the guys who started at the same time as you.
I'm trying to think. I know Courtney started, I think, when I was a blue, and I know she did UWM program also, and so she's another one that was early on. Man, there's a lot of people that like they still like, I don't know, they just like stopped training for a while, then they came back and they like didn't get promoted and whatnot. So there's a lot of people that still like hold like an older rank that like I think if they stay consistent they would have progressed, obviously, but I can't think of any off the top of my head who that would be. But yeah.
Got you. All right, man. We blew Jake's record, so fuck you, Jake.
All right, Jake.
You're gonna have to come back and set a new record. Thank you so much, man. Your story was way crazier than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah,
I got some kids that are back from church, and I think my little one just woke up. I can't believe she went down for a 2.5-hour nap.
Dang.
I thought for sure she was screaming through here.
Nice.
But thank you so much for doing this, man. You gave me a lot of ideas of people that I need to talk to, stories that I need to tell and hear. It was truly a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I was looking forward. I was like, man, I hope he messages me. I want to be on the podcast. So thank you.
As soon as I did one, my wife was like, you got to get Omar. You got to get Omar. You got to get Omar. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do Omar. I'm going to do Omar. And then after every single one, she's like, you've got to do Omar. And I was like, I'm going to do Omar. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I'm not giving you a recommendation. I have to do that story.
Yeah. Tell her I say hello. Ted, say hello to your family.
Will do. She's going to listen to this specifically. So there you go.
For sure.
At 2 hours and 36 minutes.
I hope you like what you hear.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
You too.